send the recording as well. Dr. Clancy, if you can approve my, oh, yes, I'm recording as well.
Yeah,
Thank you very much. All right, I'll let you start, Dr. Laura.
Hello, everyone. Hello, Dr. Rizwan. And
Hello.
Clancy is here with me too. He's just in the admin background at the moment. Do you want to turn your camera on?
I can turn my
There you
camera
go.
on very quickly.
Very good. Hello, everyone.
Hi, Clancy.
So we're just gonna slowly get you all in. So I'm not sure if you guys are aware of how we normally conduct these sessions and how, of course, our classes are conducted. We really like students to turn their videos on. And actually, our students must turn their videos on during the classes. That helps us to see your faces, interact with you, answer questions directly, and get to know you. So please do turn your videos on when you're ready. All right, so we'll just give a little bit of extra seconds here just to get all of the participants. Yeah, we got 101 participants. I think it's fine. We can launch. So yes, please. Thank you so much, everyone. We're all doctors around the world. Don't worry, we've done this multiple times. So you don't have to worry. I'm sure some of you, lots of you already are students. So please do turn your videos on, okay, for us. Very good. All right. So welcome everyone to our complete AMC/MCQ orientation session. During this session, you are going to learn everything that you need to really know about this exam and about the AMC pathway, as well as a lot of super important tips regarding your career and how to become a doctor in Australia. Dr. Rizwan and myself, we work together in emergency focus and DLM education, and we have created a very complex program for the preparation of the MCQ, but this orientation is for absolutely everyone. We actually digest and dissect every single part of the exam, of the pathway, for you to understand what are the challenges ahead of you and the tips, the study materials, and everything that you have to do if you decide to prepare on your own, okay? So my name is Laura, and I'm a doctor working, of course, in Australia, and I'm an IMG like yourself as well. So I went through the whole process. And then we got Dr. Rizwan. Please, Dr. Rizwan.
Hello. Hi,
Hello.
I'm here. We're going to talk shortly, in depth, in detail, the critical
Yes.
analysis. I think I'm sure you all been waiting to hear from me, and I've made some points. No slides, so it's going to be all very organic and very real, very personalized, despite the fact that we are hundreds and thousands of kilometers away. Not hundreds and thousands, actually, at least thousands of kilometers away, but it's going to be all personalized. But Dr. Laura has been quite instrumental in terms of creating this beautiful resource, which is obviously with all those years has grown into one of a mammoth course. But the beauty of this course is that it is to the point. So you don't have to go through every degree of the complexity and detail. We read all the up-to-date points. Dr. Laura was just telling me that there's some revisions and updates which she will talk about in detail. So people often send me messages that, look, can I bug you for giving me the tips and tricks about the AMC reading resources, the website, the useful, the free, and the purchasable things. And I always say that, look, that's all fine, but I think you need to be directed to Laura, who's an expert in terms of resources, the time frames, the timetable, the reading resources, what are to be the essential non-compromisable and what are the ideal which can be compromised a little bit. So Laura would be talking in detail about that with regards to the AMC MCQ. So welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm going to talk right about in the first instance about the questions which I get most commonly. And these are the questions after you pass your MCQ, because I think you're all great. And I'm sure if you are going to sit the AMC MCQ, you will pass AMC MCQ. And once you pass the AMC MCQ, that's where the real struggle starts, which is finding your first job. I won't say it's a real struggle, but it is obviously a part of the process, which needs a bit of commitment. So this morning, I was reflecting on what could be the most important way or more useful way or utilization of everybody's time. And I made 10 most commonly asked questions. First question we've already covered that can you share tip and tricks about AMC Part 1 resources and what works and what doesn't work? So Dr. Laura will go through it. I'm sure that she'll do a hell of a job of it because she's been doing it. She's a pro. So I trust her completely.
Thank you.
Yes. And look, I don't say that lightly. I think AMC MCQ is not something which is static. It's quite dynamic. Every course is different from the course which was before. So me sharing the courses resources may be based on idea which I've done a research about 6 months ago, but Laura does that day in and day out. She is doing this process for the last 5 or 6 years, but she constantly updates. So I think she will give you the most up-to-date information about what books to read, what are the useful website, what is our portal useful for, because now we expanded our portal. We are also utilizing some we now trying to host our videos to third-party websites so that the bandwidth does not reduce and you all get the videos in its complete nature, and it's all quite trickling effect, so you don't get overwhelmed completely, because the initial feedback, Laura, you remember that, oh, it's a lot of information, how am I going to make the sense of it all? So it's all very trickle, step by step. You do the lesson, you do the video, you do the trial questions, and then you move on and go to the step 2 and chapter 2. So Laura will take care of that. The second question I get is that, look, some of the people who have done primary medical qualification from some other part of the world, which might be somewhere in China or Malaysia or Georgia or Russia, and often they ask me the question that, look, can I sit the AMC MCQ? I have not done my house job, or I've not done my internship. I think this is a very old kind of question. I think most of the people are eligible to sit AMC MCQ despite the fact that you've done primary medical qualification from different parts of the world, as long as your med school is on the list of that World Directory of Medical Schools. So you should be cool. Then the real questions start, which are, if I pass the exam, can I get a job? I have like 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience, and 3 years of experience. And here is what I really want to, make a very clear distinction between the expectation and reality. So 5 years ago, the expectation was that if you pass the AMC MCQ and you have got some clinical experience, you will get a job. 7 out of 10 times, you'll get a job very easily. Okay, that was 5 years ago. We were coming out of the COVID time. There was lots of vacancies, and they needed doctors not only in the metropolitan city but in the regional and rural areas out there as well. They needed specialists, which they still do. They needed GPs, which they still do desperately. But they also needed working machinery, working horses in the hospital setting. Fast forward 5 years later, there are so many of the doctors who have come and joined. 5 years, in alone in 2024, there were about 5,000 doctors, overseas doctors, registered for the first time in just one single year. That number surpasses the 4,000 newly registered Australian doctors. So in 2024 alone, there were more IMGs registered with APRA, which is Australian Health Practitioner Regulation Authority, compared to the local fresh graduates. And you do the math, extrapolative math. If there are roughly about 3,000 doctors every year from 2021 onwards, we're talking, 30, 40, 50,000 doctors. So obviously the circumstances are hugely different. The vacancies are not rising, at least at the junior doctor level. But the one thing which is for sure, the junior doctor level is actually quite high turnover. You join in, come in at one part of the funnel, and then you exit. You must exit. It's not an indefinite role. And that's what creates opportunities for you. However, in that current melting pot where the lots of jobs are in thousands, there is an increased competition because there are lots of you around here. Now, that competition, to simplify it even further, is only for your first job. Let me put it in a more simpler way. It's only your first job that you'll struggle to find. If you're average or even above average doctor, your rest of the jobs will fall into place normally. So when you come in with an expectation that you've got 1 year of experience, 2 years of experience, 3 years of experience, I think my answer would be that depends. If you've applied for a doctor job, so I think last week there were interviews happening at Wollongong Hospital where I work, And the whole week was dedicated to um, interviews. There were 119 doctors shortlisted in Wollongong Hospital. These are junior medical officers all across Wollongong Hospital, 119. Okay, I'm not sure what the total number, because I don't look into the recruitment side of things. I do know the numbers because obviously we were helping conduct those interviews. Like my department was helping. I was not a part of that. Um, but 119 doctors shortlisted, that's a huge number for a hospital the size of Wollongong Hospital. Like they've got 600 beds, 119 doctors shortlisted. I'm sure at least 50 to 60% would have been IMGs. One of the things which my director did tell me, that most doctors who were actually already in the system, they would get renewal on their contracts. No problem. Now, as you know, Wollongong is also a WBA site. So that's obviously a win-win situation for the doctors who are already in the system. So that's what I'm saying. If you're in the system, then the next job onwards, things are looking smarter. You can get onto the WBA program. You've got an employer trust, and that trust can take you forward. And you'll have, I won't say guaranteed job, because I've seen some of the people who do not get their job renewals because they may not have performed to an expectation or required expectation. That's why I was saying that if you're average or at least above average, you will continue in the same hospital for at least 3 or 4 years. So for that job, it all depends who else is shortlisted for you, with you. So even if you take 119 jobs or 120 jobs, say for instance, and let's just say 30 of them are going to be Wollongong Hospital last year doctors, then at least there are another 90 or 80 doctors who would be given their first jobs in Wollongong Hospital. Let's just say, 20 of them are local Australian. Fine. You still have 50 to 60 jobs where IMGs would be given their first option. And I do see and work with a lot of IMGs who have got their first time jobs in Wollongong Hospital as well. And that's just Wollongong Hospital. In the same network, there's Shoalhaven, there's Nowra, there's Shell Harbour. So we might be talking in a single network, hundreds of jobs for the first time doctors. So you are essentially competing amongst yourself. Like, I mean, right now we got about 137 doctors in this group. Um, and if all 137 apply, and only 137 apply, then you'll all get shortlisted. At least 120 of them will get shortlisted, and you'll be competing against. So then the question won't be, is my 1 year or 2 year, 3 year experience going to count? It's going to be, how is your 1 year, 2 year experience is specifically relevant to the job which has been advertised. Now, I know that, when you're a junior doctor, the things are a bit more arbitrary. They're less specific. The role of JMO is more broad and unspecified. So you can say that I've worked in acute medicine, I've worked in emergency medicine, I've worked in pediatrics and obs and gynae. But one of the things which I always see play out in your favor or in any IMG's favor is having an emergency and acute medicine experience. Full stop. And when I put on recently jobs for because some of the private hospital contacted us with multiple jobs in emergency medicine, one of the clear distinction or rule which was given to us by the employer, please give me the doctors only who are 6 years out of med school, number one, and who have at least 3 years of emergency medicine experience, number two, and who are currently and actively working in emergency medicine, number three. And ideally, if they've done an MD or some sort of emergency medicine training program, number four. So we were actually quite limited in terms of what we can, despite the fact I've at least shortlisted 16 people, and I'm going to do the interviews this Tuesday. They've all gotten emails. The point that I'm trying to make is that you need to make sure that your CV shows that you are number one working. You must be working, guys. Okay. Number two, your work should closely align with the work which is advertised in the hospital that you're applying for, in the recruitment campaign that you're applying for. It might be the RMO recruitment campaign or whatever the recruitment campaign it is. New South Wales recruitment campaign is going on, or that might be a specific emergency medicine job. If you're applying for a specific jobs in obs and gynae or pediatrics or surgery or medicine or emergency medicine, trust me, there's no point applying for a job in emergency department if you have not got emergency medicine experience. If you're telling me that you're working in Maldives, I know Maldives emergency experience is worth jack. They're all working as GPs. Yes, some of them might have modified their CV because, they do look after certain emergencies. That does not cut it. That's not aligning with the local emergency medicine experience in Australia, which are proper structured emergency medicine department housed by the consultant, senior registrar. It's a proper training. It's a proper hospital tertiary system. You cannot compensate for that, right? So what I'm trying to highlight is when you're applying for specific jobs, pediatrics, general surgery, acute medicine, emergency medicine, you must be working in that field. You must be working in a good hospital. Now, lots of people who are coming from India, and I don't make any allowances for that, they sit down at home and they're not working because they're preparing for NEET PG. It's your loss, not anybody's loss. Because from that same country, India, there are many people who might be sitting NEET PG but might be working in a GP clinic or might be working in a hospital in a private sector, whatever it is. So some of the people can do. They're certainly taking more advantage on top of you. So it's at the end of the day, it's entirely up to you how you're going to float your CV. Are you going to be justifying a gap, saying that you were sitting postgraduate entrance exam for getting onto the training program in India or whatever it is? Or are you going to say, no, despite the fact that I'm preparing for exam, I'm actually also working side by side in the evening, in a clinic, in a hospital, on a night shift, because that person at the end of the day is going to win the game. So in a nutshell, it's not 1, 2, 3 years of experience. It's your specific experience relevant to the standalone jobs that you're applying. And if you're applying for recruitment campaigns, most of the essential and desirable criteria must be ticked over 5 times over. All right. I hope I'm very clear about it. The next thing, which a question I get is that what gap is bad? Well, as a junior doctor after AMC, every gap is not going to look good on your CV. Any gap. Even if it's look, I think there's a basic understanding for a year, 4 week could be your annual leaves, which is fine. Everybody understands. It could be maternity leave, it could be annual leave, it could be any sort of leave. But as a junior doctor who has not gotten onto a specialist training program and has got a gap and has got a sustained gap for 2 months, going on to 3 months, going on to 4 months, it does not look good. It's some it and again I'm going to use the same example, guys. Why does it not look good? Because there are people who've got no gaps in their CV. So by the same example, if the hospital is advertising for 200 jobs, and out of those 200 jobs 150 of them got no gaps on the CV, then you can understand the people with the gaps or any gap on the CV are not going to get shortlisted. Same thing, I always say that when you're applying for jobs, please do yourself a favor. Be in work. Yesterday, somebody messaged me, I have given an Australian permanent residency and I want to come to Australia to sit AMC MCQ part 1, and then I'll stay over there and then I'll work over there. And, what could be the best way around it? I'll cover that question because this is one of the list of the questions which I've gotten 10 questions. So anyway, the thing about the gap is try avoid gaps at all cost. The question that follows that, what can I do to compensate for a gap? Can I do courses, conferences, workshops, or can I do clinical observations? Look, these things are acceptable, but they don't compensate for a clinical work. So somebody asked me a very very interesting question. What is a gap? Look, I'm, I'm actually working as an assistant professor in a college and I'm teaching, but does that sound as a gap? Of course it does. The gap is anything that does not involve a patient in your interaction. So if you're not seeing patient, you're accumulating a gap. You might be working as a president of India or Pakistan. I don't care. It's a clinical gap. You're not seeing patients in a hospital setting or a GP setting or whatever it might be. Now, that's the other thing that, can I work in a GP setting? Look, guys, everybody knows GP work at a junior doctor level is not worth the paper it's written on. Everybody knows what kind of GP work everybody does as a junior doctor. It's very hardly they gave letter of certificates, and there's no value in those. If you plus the thing is that if you're applying for a hospital role, how serious the hospital would be giving you a job if you're working in a GP setting, even for a compensation of a gap. Again, trying to compare yourself from a colleague who's just next to you in this video, who might be working in a hospital. Why would that colleague not get shortlisted because they're working in a hospital is specific to the role that you're applying for, and you're working in a GP setting or you're not working at all? So it's the survival of the fittest, to be honest. Okay. Now, so the compensation of a gap, is clinical work involving real patients. Okay. Then the question I get asked, how long will it take to get a job? And can you review my CV and give me tips? Uh, I used to be very calculated and very calibrated when I'm answering this question. How long will it take? And I think there's an expectation that 12 months is a realistic time because it takes some degree of understanding. It takes a certain level of effort, and it's a whole process, and you cannot start that process on day one. I know there are people who are very smart when it comes to applications. I know there are people who are quite switched on when it comes to they just orient themselves level-headed, and I've seen them getting a job within 3 months, and some of them getting a job in 6 months. And in the last 4 weeks, every day I'm getting an email. I have been shortlisted. I have been shortlisted. In our complete job mentorship, we have had 70 people shortlisted this year. I think we're going to break the record of our job, first time job people. These are first time job people who with AMC 1 only. I'm not talking about even AMC clinical. These are junior doctors, first timer, not specialist. 70 people have been shortlisted. And the second round of recruitment is only starting. So I think this thing is only going to get better towards December and January time. And I'm getting like constantly. Yesterday, somebody contacted me. I've been shortlisted for head and neck surgery position, ENT specialist position. I thought that was nearly impossible. Somebody contacted me. I've been shortlisted for a gastroenterology position. 2 shortlistings in gastroenterology positions as a specialist. That's amazing. That's superb. So I have stopped um, being putting time frames on it, because anything can happen at any time, and I'm very optimistic, and I wish them all the best. Because when I was preparing for an interview for that person, that gastroenterologist, I can tell you right now, he will get the job. He will get the job. His CV is like super strong. Working in as a gastroenterologist, he's a specialist. He's got substantial comparability assessment from the RACP. He's working. He's got publications. So that is the kind of CV which gets you jobs. So I'm not even surprised why he's shortlisted. I think he should have been given a job just by the virtue of his CV. But then again, that reason, and I'm using this example, is because the fact that he is in one of the most competitive specialties in Australia, gastroenterology, and that's for a staff specialist job. That's a consultant job. That means once he's done his college requirement, peer review assessment, next year his salary, starting salary, would be in the range of about 375 to $400,000. Now that's an IMG right now who is not in Australia, and he's been shortlisted offshore. He's got no visa. He's not done an AMC exam. He's on specialist pathway. So this is win-win situation for him. And then there's another second gastroenterologist who's been shortlisted directly from India. So look, these are very reassuring times. These are very optimistic times. But the point is, these people are worthy of being shortlisted. When I put on double one, double two emergency medicine doctor job, people just vomited their CV without thinking about whether it's worth it or not, which I don't think is the right way of going about it. And I know some of it is, not desperate times call for desperate measures. And I can understand that completely. But still try to put your efforts where they can get you most bang for your buck. All right. Let's keep on moving with this question, because some of the questions are really interesting. Can I get into any training scheme? Yes, you can. If you've got patience, once you've passed your AMC MCQ, once you've done your WBA or AMC clinical, you can get into any training scheme. Now, with regards to WBA and AMC clinical, I know it's not relevant right now. You're all looking for your first job, but just to say that once you pass your AMC 1, which inshallah all of you will, please, without any further wastage of time, start preparing for AMC clinical. It'll help you in your job interviews. It will help you boost your confidence. I see heaven and a hell difference between the candidates who are AMC clinically worthy and the people who are just completely taking the chill time. I know it's hard. You'll be applying for jobs, you'll be preparing for AMC clinical, you'll be applying for AMC clinical positions whenever they open up. But I think AMC clinical offers way too much value when it comes to job offerings, job interview preparations, and your overall confidence. Okay. Now, next thing is that some people want to play it smart and they say, oh, look, I'm a career GP. I want to become a GP. Can I do pesky? My experience with pesky is a bit touch and go. Unfortunately, not very good. So basically, what I've found is that uh, people who have got good GP experience back home in their country, when I say good, at least 3 to 4 years plus, at least 4 years plus, and they're actively working as a GP. On top of that, they have passed AMC MCQ, and then they apply for pesky interview after they have been shortlisted for a job by a GP practice, and they do a pesky interview for that GP practice. They may get, they may pass the pesky, and then they'll apply for a registration. Now, if you've got good experience, at least 3 years plus, 4 years plus, APRA may grant you registration. But you have to remember, in pesky route, there are two evils you have to jump over. One is the pesky interview, which is like a mini exam in itself, number one. Number two, there's APRA. And APRA is not having a bar of anything bullshitty. Okay. If they get a sniff, and they're very good at it, if they get a sniff of your GP experiences like patchy, it's all paperwork based, it's just not there, they will refuse your registration. And you will be sitting there with your past pesky paper, which won't be worth anything, because pesky is only valid for one practice or sort of similar practices. So try be very original and organic if you really want to go that route. If you want to do pesky, please make sure you have got a genuine GP experience in a practice, so you can put down that experience when it comes to APRA application, because APRA will investigate the hell out of it. Okay. So those of you who are aspirant of GP through the pesky route, I just want to make sure that APRA is another animal. Now, one of the questions which I get a lot is, even before AMC, is what are my chances? Look, I really want to say something is, you don't want to you don't want to say that to yourself, what are my chances? You know, it's a very small word, chance. It's almost reducing yourself. You're not doing this process for a chance. You don't want to get a job on a chance. Tell me, do you want to get a job by chance? Chance is what happens when you're winning a lottery. Oh, I've got a chance. I've got a chance, 1 in a million chance of winning a lottery this evening. I don't want you to guess your chances. Okay. But you need to have a very strategic, well played out plan. You cannot ask this, what are my chances? This is a very comprehensive process. Chance is not a good word which puts this process into a context. Chance is something which you're taking when you're playing a lottery, or I don't know, when you're buying something. But with big decisions in your life, you don't take chances. You don't take a chance with your marriage or whatever it is. You have a strategy, you do due diligence. Okay. So do the right things, as I've said. Do your clinical experience, do your exams, prepare your CV, and I can guarantee, with this process, I want to replace this word of chance. What are the process involves? When you do step one, step two of this process of AMC MCQ, AMC clinical plus minus, plus the CV review, plus the interview preparation way before you get shortlisted, then in this process, you will get rewarded. Trust me, you will, because that's what I'm seeing right now. 80 shortlisted from their home countries, not on shore here in Australia. That's the process. That's not a chance. That's someone, 80 of them, who have followed the process. So I want you to follow that process, okay? Okay, so the other question which I wanted to address is that I'm not sure how relevant it might be to some of you, but I'll just put it out there because I do get this question a lot, that I want to come to Australia, do my MC1 or do my MC clinical, and then I'm going to stay there. I'm going to do masters. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. I'm going to do clinical observations and what have you, and then I'll stay there till I get the job. I don't suggest that strategy because it's not a good viable one, because the people who get shortlisted, who are the ones who are actually working in a hospital sector, and it's not worth it. It's not worth coming to Australia. Now I know it might be very difficult and hard for someone who's migrating because their spouse is here or their new spouses are here, whatever it is. But you could be doing this as a worst favor to yourself, migrating before AMC 1 or migrating after AMC 1 before getting a job, unless and until you're coming here for a very specific region, which in your case could be clinical observation or some conference or AMC Part 2, and then going back. So the max I would stay before getting a job in Australia would not be more than 1 month or 6 weeks for a very specific packed out schedule of conferences, workshop, AMC2, clinical observation, and then going back. Do not stay in here. It's not worth staying here. You can visit, fine, but that 1 month is enough for visiting and doing all those conferences, workshop. You can come and meet me. I would love to meet you for a coffee. That's fine. I'll take you for a dinner, in fact, even. But I would not suggest that you stay here for more than a few weeks. Okay. What else? I think I have covered all the questions which were hot burning questions, unless and until somebody has got anything specific. I'm more than happy. I'm not sure, like, in the chat box is buzzing, and um,
Yeah, the
you know,
chat box has a few questions. We've been trying to, but there is one that said, Dr. There is one, please guide people who have done PLAB 2 and
oh
are
yes, 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 yes.
AMC registered now, they are pursuing AMC 1.
Yeah, look, it's funny. It's funny that I was thinking about it actually yesterday. That it's funny how people say that I've done PLAB 2 and I'm fully GMC registered. And what options do I have in Australia? Well, basically, yes, you, as a part of the process, you have to do AMC 1 right now, because that GMC registration is not going to provide you with any meaningful benefit here in Australia. Well, it did not provide you any meaningful benefit, that registration, in the UK either. And that goes on for anybody who's done membership exams as well. That GMC registration is not worth anything, even in the UK. So it's not going to be obviously worth anything here in Australia. What I can tell you is that last week I had two very short notice interview from the people who had GMC registration with UK experience, and they were both shortlisted for emergency medicine job one and one acute medicine job very close to Sydney. So that's when things change dramatically. Obviously, we won't be having this discussion for the people who are working in the UK. But if you got UK work experience, the situation is completely different. But if you haven't got a UK work experience and you have got a GMC registration, then yes, you have to do AMC MCQ, and you have to do everything pretty much anyone like who's taking the AMC MCQ for the first time. So try leave that thought process behind, that this GMC registration is going to give you any advantage. If you've done a clinical observation in the UK, it's going to give you any advantage. It doesn't, at least in my understanding, it hasn't. If you've done any course in the UK, it'll give you any advantage. I haven't seen any major advantage play out from that point of view. If you've done membership exam like MRCP Part 1, MRChem, it will pay you with any advantage. It doesn't. So anything which is going to be obviously of any value is come to that beginning part of the race line, which is at least a minimum pass in AMC MCQ, an English test. Once you come to that, then maybe those things of clinical observation and whatever, they may have some value, less than 10% maybe. But before that, obviously, it's quite competitive. There are people here who have passed AMC MCQ, who are in, have done courses, conferences, workshops. They're working in India, Pakistan. They trump you day in and day out. So your GMC registration, unfortunately, does not provide you with any advantage right now. Okay.
So much to the Rizwan
Yeah.
for that.
Okay. Anything else which I should cover? I think there's always a question or two about the gaps. I could just do one session completely for gaps only, I think.
Dr. Rizwan, there is a doctor I would like to just ask a question.
Yeah.
Maybe Dr. Chukwebuka, would you like to talk to us?
Yes, good afternoon or good evening.
Hello,
I'm from
doctor.
Nigeria. Hello. So I have a question. Earlier, you were speaking of gap years, and you mentioned how having 2, 3, 4 months gap year on your CV is detrimental for recruiters. especially if you're looking to write the AMC MCQ. So my question is, if I'm going to have gaps on my CV, and I plan to write AMC, and after AMC, I still intend to get some form of recency of exposure or clinical experience in my home country before applying. Does the gap years on my CV still matter?
Um, Look, I'm not sure what I mean. Are you in Australia or you in where are you in right now? Which
I'm
country?
in Nigeria.
Nigeria. Okay. Are you working as a doctor right now?
No, I just recently graduated
Okay.
sometime last month.
Okay. So I think can you work as a doctor in Nigeria?
Not not currently, because I still have to. I want to do the process of AMC first before starting that of Nigeria.
Oh, all right. Okay. So you basically want to dedicate some time for AMC preparation before you
Yeah.
want to take up any
Yes.
job. So this is a very
Yes.
this is a very wrong concept. AMC is your problem. Okay. And this is not going to reward you even in Australia. So if you're dedicating 3 6 months of your life preparing for AMC MCQ exam, that by passing the AMC MCQ exam, it's going to, create opportunities for you for clinical job. This concept is flawed from the beginning. You need to be working. And that has always been the game plan. That has always been the rules. You need to be working in Nigeria. So please do not compromise on an internship. If you can do an internship because you've just recently graduated, please do your internship in Nigeria. After you finish your internship, Dr. Eskevem, please go on and do your resident years. But please keep on working while side by side you're preparing for AMC MCQ. I know it's hard, but you do not want to get any gap. Let me just be very clear as crystal about it. You do not want to get any gap, at least in the first 5 years after your graduation as a medical doctor. These are very formidable years. These are very foundational years. In the UK, people used to take gap year. I'll give you this example. When I was in the UK, people used to get gap years after their medical degree, and they would go travel to Spain, Eastern Europe. They would go to different parts of the world, and that would be a gap year. They're experimenting in life and all that. You know what happened to those people? All of the IMGs came in, and those doctors missed out on the training spots. They didn't learn their lessons because they thought they're they're locals and they can always get a job. Yes, surely they will get a job, but the ones who did get a job were the ones who stayed, who improved their CV, and they got onto the surgical training scheme, radiology training scheme, anesthesia, critical care, emergency GP training schemes. And the ones who were out taking a sabbatical year in Australia, traveling and going to Thailand and going to Eastern Europe and all that, they missed out big time. And then they start whinging that, look, despite being from the son of the soil, we're not getting shortlisted because all of the doctors have taken the job. The IMGs have taken up the jobs. Well, duh, that's what happens. Survival of the fittest. There will always be someone better than you who's more hireable. And that's why the priority bill came in. But unfortunately for IMG, there is not going to be any priority bill in Australia or in the UK. Your priority is only in your own home country. So please prioritize work in there. Any work is fine. Don't even think about it. Like, you don't have to make it complex. Chill out. Like, I remember when I was preparing for my lab, I was working in a private hospital in Karachi. Fine. At least it had some credibility. It was a very old hospital. It was very reputable. I was looking after medical patients, surgical patients, orthopedic patients. Fine. I put it in the CV. At least it wasn't a gap. While I was preparing for my lab part one, I did my AMC part one when I was actually working as an emergency doctor here in Sydney. So, look, I think, eh, needless to say, just to summarize, try avoid any gaps in the 5 years. If you have got gaps already, because some of obviously you may already have gaps, it's never too late. Find work, start working. Your family time, your maternity leave, your health related issues, your depressions, your mental health crisis, your breakdown in relationships, your financial vows, whatever it is, it's your problem. Honestly, it's your problem. There's a person sitting right next to you who, despite having these problems, is still putting up a brave face, and they're going to trump you and they're going to win over you. It's survival of the fittest. And you can always improve yourself by making the adjustments, finding work. All right. I hope it's answered your questions. It was a bit of a long-winded question, but anyway. Anything else?
I have a question.
Yep.
As you said, like having an emergency medicine experience is quite helpful to get land up a job, right? But what if a GP is having a specific department, for example, obs and gynae? For me, I have obs and gynae experience as a junior doctor for more than 2 years. Would that help me apply a job and no emergency medicine experience I have?
Mm. So this is how the concept get misunderstood. I said that if you're applying for a specific job in emergency medicine experience, in emergency medicine, then obviously the emergency medicine experience needs to be relevant, needs to be recent, needs to be active. If you're applying for a
Right.
role in obstetrics and gynecology, like an SRMO position, which I think you'd be equipped to apply for that role, then fine. Your current experience in obstetrician and gynecology, SRMO or RMO or whatever it is, would be completely fine. If you're applying for a general RMO rotation as a part of New South Wales Health Campaign, that would also be fine because somewhere in that campaign there would be a rotation in obs and gynae. But having said that, if you're applying for recruitment campaign, you have to understand the fundamental of a campaign. It is a breakdown of 5 or 6 jobs, individual jobs for a whole year. So it may have obs and gynae component, pediatric component, emergency medicine component, acute medicine component. So the people who would surpass you, Dr. Afia, would be the one who would have all those components in some shape or form, or at least majority of those components, not just being isolated. So that's the concept of pre-vocational training. That's what I always say, that when you're applying for a job in Australia, you have to map almost, you have to very closely shadow the job that you have applied for. In a recruitment campaign, that's going to be the set standard. Like, I mean, honestly, guys, when you were doing your internship, how many of you did your internship in obs and gynae alone, or in pediatrics alone, or in neurosurgery alone? It was broken down into multiple individual rotations: emergency medicine, surgery, dermatology, community medicine, whatever. Why is that? Because it gives you a broad experience. In Australia, after the completion of that same broad experience, that broad experience continues for the next 2 years. So if you're in your home country and you're not part of a training program, then you need to continue to reflect that broadness in some shape or form. Now, yeah, it's not always possible. Obviously, you can't do that. If you, like for Dr. Afia, it's not possible because she's working on obs and gynae. But at least there's a reason and rhyme, because there are people who have got these broad experiences, who might be working in a big multi-specialty or super specialty hospital which has got all those rotations, and they may go in to their human resources and say, oh, why don't you put me in the next rotation in pediatrics? Why don't you put me in ICU? Why don't you? Because I see CV and review CV, and people have got mixed experiences. So if you're not part of a training stream after your internship, keep yourself broad. That gives you a better chance. Or if you can't be broad, work in the specialty which is broad enough, like emergency medicine. It has got, it's got everything, to be honest. Acute medicine's got everything, to be honest. If you just go very, super sleek into psychiatry, or, radiology or dermatology or pathology or something like that, then it becomes very indefensible when you're applying for rotational or standalone jobs. So, look, I mean, whatever's happened, you can always rejig and repurpose these things.
No, honestly, I have experience of 2 years in internal medicine and 2 years in ops and gyne and another 2 years in UAE, Dubai. So overall, I have more than 7 years of experience, but mostly I do have in obs and gyne is the majority is what I'm trying to say. But I am planning to move my job in the dermatology field right now. I have got a job offer. So I'm thinking, is that a good option to have a variety? Now, since you said it's always good to have a spread out your broadcast your field and not just stick to one is actually quite helpful actually. I think I should do that, yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. Thank you.
Thanks. All right. Okay. Okay, guys. Any other questions, or are we done?
Sir, good afternoon, sir.
Yes. Good afternoon.
Sir, this is Dr. Shravanti from India.
Uh-huh.
I have
How are
done my
you?
MBBS and yeah, I'm good, sir. Thank you. How are you?
Good, good, good.
Yeah, I did my MBBS and MS OBGY from India. So I have completed my master's in January 2026.
Uh-huh.
I did as registrar for 10 months in corporate hospital. Now currently I'm doing as consultant in private nursing homes.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I want to move to Australia. Like I want to know regarding unaccredited jobs and area of need jobs.
Yeah,
I
look,
have heard somewhere
I
about
don't think
it.
it's going to work, to be honest. Like, I mean,
Okay.
you're very fresh, you're very young from that point of view. It's just not going to work. You have not done, like, I mean, obviously, if you look at the, as I said, it's all about comparison. The
Yes.
ONG training program is 6 years long in Australia, right? The area of
Okay.
need job or regional jobs are super competitive. Even Australians do not get shortlisted for those jobs because they are very unsupervised. So these jobs will be
Mm.
going to someone from the UK who has got 10 years plus of consultant experience after doing at least 8 or 9 years in training and fellowships. They're super skilled in laparoscopies and what have you. So I think the best things right now, Dr. Saravanathy, is please dedicate more time in your training to fellowships, continue to work in a senior resident capacity. Try build on this experience if you want to come here as an obstetrician and gynecologist, because you've got, look, to be honest, I work with a lot of obstetrics and gynecologists. And on an average, if somebody who has got a good outlook in a picture are the people who've at least 7 or 8 years out of their MSONG program. They've got
So
some
even if I, sorry to interrupt. Even if I want to work as a registrar, I should wait for 7 to 8. Yes, sir.
look, then it becomes a little bit different. Then you have to do AMC exams and then you have to apply for registrar jobs. Yes, there's a possibility of getting the registrar job, but what is the end game here? That it becomes like if you want to work as a registrar for one-off job, yeah, but then you should be looking at the bigger and long-term picture. You want to come here as a specialist, you want to retrain as an obstetrician gynecologist. That would be a wasted year as a gynecologist and so basically you have to look at I always say that please look at the end goal here. Like, what's your end goal? Do you want to be an obstetrician here in Australia? If you want to be an obstetrician in Australia, there are only two pathways. Either you can come here as a specialist, for which you should be at least 5 years after the MSONG, after doing at least 3 years of SR chip, after doing FMAS, after doing fellowship in maternal-fetal medicine, gynae oncology exposure, um, after having at least good number of publications, after having a good diagnostic and therapeutic laparoscopic experience, then you stand some chance as a specialist comparability assessment with a good logbook. But if you don't, then yes, you can come as a registrar. Then you have to retrain as a gynecologist and specialist, which again, to retrain as a gynecologist here, we're looking at least as 3 to 4 years to get into the training. And the training, which is 6 years long. So it becomes a 10-year game altogether. So it works out and plays very differently. On paper, it sounds very exciting, but realistically, these are very hard battles. And you have to have a very clear mindset and strategy. All right. Any other
Okay.
question?
Thank you, sir.
Hello, Dr. Rizwan. Can I put forward my question, please?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm actually a fresh graduate and I am working in critical care medicine just a month. And I'm planning to write my AMC 6 months down the lane. And I wanted to take your observership too for a month or two. And you have advised not to post observership in Australia. So I am thinking if I could just search jobs or go walk-in interview or something like that during observership. Would you suggest that, or how's it like the post course of my AMC? How will I go through things post my AMC?
Yeah. So after you do your AMC, I would suggest you can come here to Australia for an observation. Do match it up with some courses here, ALS, BLS, ATLS, APLS, any course here to make it worth your while. Once you've done all those things, then go back and start working in that broad scope of practice, which I've said. Try not to spend time here more than 4 weeks. And anything that you spend here would obviously be a gap, and you're quite young. Obviously, you just recently graduated. You don't want to disadvantage yourself.
Thank you so much.
Okay, all right. Thank you. Any
Yeah.
other
Hi,
questions?
Hi, sir.
Yeah,
Can I ask
sir,
a question?
Yep.
excuse me. Yeah.
Um,
Can I have a question? I'm James from
Sure.
Sydney.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, my situation will be totally different. Also, I had a job of almost nearly 5 plus, and I'm in Australia. I graduated in 2020, moved to Australia with COVID lockdown,
Uh-huh.
and attempted AMC twice, but I didn't pass. And I made a affiliate membership with RHC BMP, and I think you remember me. I attended also your emergency urgent care course with
Okay.
you.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes. Yes.
remember.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and unfortunately now I'm become Australian citizens and I'm
Mm.
permanent in Sydney with family. So my concern is that like I'm planning my own thing anyway, my own way. I secure also public health with Canberra Uni as
Mm-hmm.
master degree.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And my concern is if I pass AMC 1 and 2, would I be able to start like fresh with internship or junior medical doctor or registrar, all this process, or how? Because I
Um,
don't think this
I'll make it
idea
very
of
simple,
going back
James. Yeah, no,
is
I
not
got it. I
practical
got
to
it.
me.
I'll make it
Yeah,
simple.
yeah.
Yeah, look, we're not in lockdown anymore. I would strongly encourage you to do AMC clinical, because you need to do a lot of catch up and you need to regain the trust from the employers. So, with 5 years plus of clinical gap, passing the AMC clinical becomes almost like a non compromisable situation. My own class fellow, who was, restarting career, asked my advice that, look, what would be the best chance? And I said, look, you've had good good gap, more than 5 years, 6 years plus. You must sit AMC clinical. There's no two ways about it. Whilst you're actually preparing for AMC clinical, because they're not available, the dates are not available readily for AMC clinical, you need to go back to your country and start working as a doctor now. For me, it's very easy to say that. And for you, it's very difficult because you got your life here, you're a permanent resident or citizen, and it might not be possible. But I would still encourage you to take frequent breaks, go back to your country and start working as a medical doctor there. So your CV start mending those gaps which you accumulated. So APRA rule says in returns of practice that for 56, 57 weeks of gap, you should compensate it by 4 weeks. So if you go every month, every year, at least, you start repairing some bridges. Now, who is to say that this repair is going to be enough? But at least it's the bare minimum expectation. AMC clinical and repairing those gaps. And
Right.
yes, yes, you can restart your career. We have seen some rarities in which you can get an internship position, but I almost never advise people to come here as an intern because the opportunities is quite restrictive from that point of view. All right. I
All right.
think we might just stop
Very
here
good.
because yes,
Sorry, Dr.
and
Rizwan.
yes, and I think Dr. Law, because this might go into forever.
Yeah, but it's all right. Like at the end of the session here, we normally have a few questions that I might be able to answer.
Yeah.
Mute. But thank you so much. I mean, they will be asking you questions forever,
Yeah.
forever here.
Yes.
But we just have this very, very lengthy,
Yes.
very
Yes.
lengthy
I'm sorry.
session. No,
I'll let you
don't say sorry. It's absolutely wonderful. Thank you so much. And I'm sure they have gotten a lot of questions answered by yourself, which you, of course, focus and you have a huge program
Yeah.
for career coaching and preparation of
Yeah.
doctors once they pass their AMC 1. So I really, recommend to all of our students, always student, get in touch with you.
Wonderful.
For further steps, for sure.
Okay, let's take on the AMC MCQ, which is my leading question, that what are the preparation resources? So Dr. Laura, over to you. Thank you for all your patience.
Oh, thank you, Dr. Rizwan. You're wonderful. All right, so thank you so much, guys. So what we're gonna do now will be to actually talk about the AMC. So one of the important things, if you are preparing, is to try to understand what the AMC pathway is and also how to actually get there. So once you make the decision to come to Australia, you need to understand what you need to do. Okay. So I've tried to make it a little bit more concise this time, because the AMC has a lot of different pathways that they shared in their website, and they can be a little bit confusing. So I will start from here. So thank you so much, Dr. Rizwan, for all of those beautiful questions. And let's dive into very, very important concepts that you all need to have for your AMC. We're going to talk about all of the updates that have just happened now in August for your topics that you need to prepare, all of the materials that you need to do, the mistakes that a lot of people make and you need to avoid, and what is the AMC cycle, which you guys probably know a lot about it. The AMC cycle is when we do our AMC 1 exam, and then we get stuck and we are not able to get to clinicals, and then we are stuck and we are not able to actually get to job offers and so on. So feel free to take any screenshots from the slides as well, because they are really, really good and useful. Okay, so I have divided, and thank you so much for the questions. We'll try at the end of the session to answer as many questions as we can from the chat box as well as with you guys. So I have, let's say, divided the phases of your path into 4 different phases. So the first one is your admin phase. Your admin phase is probably what you are doing now, or maybe you're a little bit over this, in which you made a decision to come to Australia, you had a look and you want to come here to work because of the pay conditions, because of the country, safety, because you love the beach, and so on, okay? And you like the health system. So the first thing that you need to do is that you have that a school, okay? So this is double, sorry. So just you have to check that your medical school and degree are listed on the AMC website, okay? And then once you have that, you need to make sure you get your primary source of verification with your AMC account and portfolio. And once you have that, then you applied for your My Intel Health and your EPIC. So through EPIC and My Intel Health, they will be able to verify your medical degree. So once it's verified and the notary, then that can be added into your AMC portfolio. And once all of the process is done, then you have the green tick to be able to pay for your exam fees and select a date. Okay, so that's pretty much it. We're gonna go through it. I will show you the specific parts of the website, so for you to see where to do this. And there is also a booklet that is super important that will explain everything in detail, but it's actually not that complicated. So once you have done your portfolio, or let's say you already checked that you can actually do this exam, almost everyone can do it, but you need to check that your school is within the world directory, okay? Once you've done that, you might not want to straight away go for paying the fees for this and you just want to start studying. That's also possible. But I always say just make sure at least you get your AMC account set up so you are already in the process to make sure you verified everything and you get all your documents ready, okay? So once you got the admin phase completed, then we jump into the study phase. Okay, a lot of people are very confused. So that's why I try to make it very simple. So the first thing that you need to do is to get your AMC MCQ, all right? So you do your AMC MCQ. There is a lot that we, of course, will cover about how to get there, how to pass the exam. But once you pass the exam, then you need to do, as soon as possible, your English test. So the first thing that you need to do is your AMC MCQ, and then straight away your English test that is accredited with APRA here in Australia. Once you have both of these tests, you can do 2 things. And I recommend all of our students to do both at the same time. Start your job application phase and also start preparing for your clinical exams, okay? So once you have these 2, you are called eligible for limited registration with APRA. In Australia, you need to have a job offer before you can become registered, a registered doctor, okay? So you have your AMC, MCQ, your English test, and then you will become eligible for limited registration. Once you have a job offer, then you can start working. So after you pass in your AMC, MCQ and your English test, straight away, you can actually start applying and you have the potential to become a doctor here. Okay. So in the meantime, while you're doing your job search and application, you should start preparing for the AMC clinical. The AMC clinical is the next step. All right. Another way to do this is if you want to be a GP, then you can access through PESCI. PESCI is specifically for those that have already general practice experience in their own country and don't want to work as hospital doctors in Australia. So they will straight setting you into the GP pathway, okay? And once you have a job, okay, you passed the English test and your MCMCQ, you got a job, and you get a job in a hospital that has a work-based assessment program. Work-based assessment costs around $16,000, $17,000, okay? You pay as you work, okay? It's quite expensive. And you do 18 exams while you work, assessed in those hospitals. The good thing about work-based assessment is that you don't have to do the clinical exam, and the passing rate is quite high. So once you're working, you do your work-based assessment, and then you get your AMC certificate, okay? Whereas with the clinical exam, you have to pass the clinical exam. It's a little bit more difficult, but with the money that you're going to spend with work-based assessment, you can do the clinical exam 4 times, okay? So you actually have high chances of getting clinicals. I always recommend to do clinicals and the AMC, because once you have clinical exam and MCQ exam together, you have something called AMC certificate, and that is yours, and it gives you full freedom. Once you logged into the work-based assessment, sometimes you have to wait time for that position to be available. It might take 1 year or 2 of waiting list, in which you are stranded into the limited registration part, okay? So after you've done that, let's just look into, again, the registration phase, okay? So AMC-MCQ plus English test equals that you are eligible for limited registration. If you get a job, then it will be under limited registration. That it is limited because it is limited to one hospital, to the hospital that you're working at, okay? Then if you do your clinical exam, okay, or you do your work-based assessment, or you pass your PESCI, okay, then you can gain provisional registration, okay, which is the next step. That's the same as having your AMC certificate, okay? And now the last thing that you need in order to get general registration, which is what you want, is to work in Australia for 12 months, okay? 40 weeks full-time equivalent. Now, in hospital setting, you have to fulfill specific weeks in emergency medicine and surgery, okay? Rotations that you have to have. And in general practice, you have to, a lot of the time, finish your fellowship and become a GP fellow in order for you to become general doctor, so with general registration, okay? That will be through the PESCI pathway. If you've done your Plat 1 or Plat 2, which European doctors are not able to do it from the European Union, but all the doctors around the world, if you are eligible for Plat 1 or Plat 2, let's say you've done it, then you can bypass the clinical exam. So if you have AMC, MCQ plus your English test, and you have already fulfilled Plat 2, Plat 1 and Plat 2, then you can straight away get your AMC certificate as well, okay? So that's the asterisk there. And the last thing is, once you get that general registration, is when you are able to apply for specialist programs and fellowship programs, okay? Like everyone else in Australia, all right? So that is a little bit of the pathway. That is exactly what you have to do. This is one of the examples from the AMC website. Of course, it looks very messy. So I just wanted to make it a bit more simple for you. But let's say that you guys will be in this standard pathway eligibility, okay? If you are a specialist in your home country, you can apply through the specialist pathway, but a lot of the time, you might have to do the MCMCQ anyway as one of the requirements of your specialist training, okay? Just to get that first job as a specialist. But if you are not a specialist, then your chance is through the standard pathway, which is the pathway that we just talked about and went through here. So please do take a screenshot and keep them with you, because this will actually clear a lot of doubts later on. Okay, I'm just sharing here a little bit of information as well about from the AMC website, who's eligible for the pathway that we talked about it. Make sure you go through the World Directory of Medical Schools. Okay, you can find it in the AMC website, and just click and look for your school there and your medical degree, just to make sure you are able to do it. Once you've done the registration, this is the admin phase. You do your AMC primary source of verification, and then you need to get your MyIntel Health account and your Epic portfolio to just make sure your title is verified under notary, okay? And after that, you have to pass your AMC MCQ exam, okay? So just remember, the AMC exams are the MCQ exam, CAT MCQ, and the clinical exam. Once you have these two, you have your AMC certificate. But if you do AMC CAT MCQ exam plus word-based assessment, you do these two, you can also get your AMC certificate too. So that's pretty much what we talked about. So this is how the World Directory looks like. And these are the two websites that you have to use to specifically get your school checked. So that's the first step. So again, please do take a screenshot for this. And then we have this really good guide that just was created last year. Is the AMC account guide. It's a PDF and it's fantastic. So you can find it in this link, and we're also going to share it in the chat at the end of the class. We will share all of the very important PDFs that you have to have at the end of the class, okay, in the chat box. So in this guide from the MC, you have every single step, and it's pretty fantastic. Once you have that, you need to find your center, okay? That is where you're going to do your exam, and the closest center to your place. So it's also in the AMC website. This is the link, and here you type where you are, and then it will specifically show you in the map where your exam centers are close to you, okay? So that's from the book, so you can see the little steps one by one. Very, very well explained. So everything that you need is in this account guide, which we will also share at the end of the class, but it's available in Google and in their website, okay? So a lot of updates have happened. A lot of things have happened between 2025 and 2026 in regards with AMC. I've been doing this for a very long time. I'm an IMG like yourself, and I did my preparation on my own. Of course, after doing my preparation on my own, I spent so much time and I did it so thoroughly that then I decided to create a program based on that. I'm not sure if you know me, but maybe yes, maybe not from social media, but I created a whole program. It's now been running for 5 years, extremely successful and really, really good for the preparation of the exam. But this does not mean that you cannot do it on your own. So that's why I do these orientations normally 3 times a year, in which we explain specifically everything that you need to know. So if you're going to attack this exam, the beast, you actually need to know how the beast behaves, what is about this exam, what are the tricks about it, what is that algorithm or what the computer does. So we're actually helping you to then create your own program. I created my own program. You can create your own. And when you're doing this preparation, that's what happens, because the AMC does not provide you with properly official exam papers, or they don't officially give you books or content or materials that they say, just read this and then do the exam. You have to, that's a very different thing. So the MCQ is one of the hardest exams in the world, but it's not because of the content, which, yeah, it's quite lengthy. It is because of the logistics, okay? Because you have no help from them. So you need to build up and create your own study content and know exactly what to do. So that might take a little bit of time, but it's completely doable. So AMC MCQ summary and updates, super important. First thing is to understand what the computer adaptive test part of the exam means, okay? So the AMC is a computer adaptive test, is CAT. MCQ examination. It's a 3-point-hour exam that actually it's online. Okay, so you literally just go to Pearson's Center. You sit in there after a lot of checks, and they take everything from you, your phone, your blah, blah, blah. They do a check. Then you sit in front of this computer, and it's just you with the computer. Okay, like that. It's not a person. It's not a monster. It's just a computer. So it's not that hard, I promise. So the exam goes for 3.5 hours, and you need to answer 150 questions, okay? You have to complete all of the 150 items. But I don't want you to just read about the CAT component, this CAT, and then skip by. A lot of people do that. They don't understand exactly what the CAT component is and how important it is to understand it. So before we had AI, okay, before we had AI, we had this software algorithm that is actually integrated within this exam, in which it will determine, depending on your answers, your own exam. So when you do the exam, you are not gonna receive 150 questions already there set for you. And those are the same ones that other people might get. No. What you're gonna get is the first question randomly assigned to you. And each question has a different level of difficulty. The CAT, the software, the algorithm, the old AI, what it does to you is that it says, okay, I'm giving this question to this person, and depending on your answer, the next question will appear. If you failed that first question, the next question will be an easier, weaker question in terms of points. The more difficult the question, the more points the question will have. In terms of points, you need to fulfill 250 points out of 500. And you have 150 questions fed to you depending on your own answers. So every single exam is different. And every single exam is tailored to you. So my first question is an easy question, and I answered the easy question correctly. The next question that I'm going to receive will be a harder question. If I answer correctly, the next question will be harder until you reach the top. Or if you fail. Then if you fail, the next question will be dropped to an easier question, and so on. Okay? Just because then that is the computer adaptive test portion of the exam. Okay? It adapts to you. So two people will have completely different exams, and two people will leave the exam feeling amazing. For example, we have a person that said, oh my God, the exam was super easy, and then miserably they fail in a month and they don't understand. And it was easy because they kept getting feedback, easy questions that were lower scoring. Whereas other people might finish the exam feeling horrendous about it. Oh my God, it was so hard. I did a horrible job, and they have a really good score because they actually had a really hard exam. Okay, so that is the main concept. Okay, I've gone through this, and it is super important. Okay, so the pass mark is 250 out of 500. The Angoff standard setting method is part of the algorithm that they use, in which you pretty much are answering this question. What is the probability that a minimal component candidate will answer this question correctly? This is not made up by me. This is actually all from the Australian Medical Council, from the official documents to understand this exam, okay? So it does ensure what they're saying, that you have the minimal level of knowledge and clinical reasoning to expect it to safely practice medicine in Australia. So this benchmark, okay, this year was raised, and that's one of the biggest changes. It's not that the exam is harder, which I will say in a way it is. It's just that it's likely that the questions that they feed you, some of them have they probably are, their value is a bit less than before. So you are expected to actually answer more difficult questions to be at the level of an Australian. doctor here. So that's what they did this year. Okay. So another thing to remember is, when can I take the exam? From February to November, but there are no exams in December and January. Okay. So if you're starting your preparation, for example, if you're one of our students starting at the end of September, the best for you will be to start doing your exams in Feb. Okay. But if you feel that you can do it in November, I will say give it a go. That will be the last time that you can do it until next year. All right. Now, in the CAT exam, for each candidate, again, as I said, the first question is randomly selected from the item pool. Again, this is an official document. If the answer to the question is incorrect, the next question will be less difficult. And if it's correct, the next question will be a more difficult one. Again, official. So that's how this exam works, okay? Then they shared this percentage, okay? And in which they say, okay, in your average exam, you're gonna have a 30% of adult medicine, 20% will be your surgery, and then the rest will be divided into women's health, child health, mental health, population health. And then they say that's normally what it is. And a lot of candidates make the huge mistake to leave mental health and not touch it, or not even do biostatistics or public health. And they make a huge mistake, because why? This statement is by definition flawed. It's not true. It's only an approximation that they are giving to you. But if your exam is tailored to you, if everyone's exam is tailored to the questions, every single exam will be different. These percentages don't work like that. In some questions, in some exams, for example, you can have 5 to 10 ECGs, and other people might not get one. Other people might get a lot of pediatric questions, and other people won't. Other people will get a lot of surgery, or maybe just only 2. Maybe they get only 1 radiology question, and the rest is all women's health, because it's been built depending on their questions. If you are weak in one area, for sure you're going to be fed back more questions from that area. If you are weak in biostatistics, you'll likely be fed back more questions from biostatistics. So what you need to do, and I just want to see if I'm getting you all guys understanding this super important concept. Maybe it's already getting into you. You actually have to break that minimum bar. You have to be able to answer all of the basic questions correctly from every single block. So you get out of that lock, and then you can transition to moderate type of questions, and then transition in a lot of different blocks into higher questions scoring. But your exam should be between moderate to high questions. All of the basic ones should be completely covered, okay? And failing to cover those basic questions, it's one of the main causes why people fail this exam constantly. And it is because they don't fully complete or fulfill their core-based knowledge, okay? Which is one of the main things that we have integrated into my program. And I explained that really well. Again, this is for you if you're preparing on your own. All right, so we'll go into that very important concept, but I just want you guys to have it because it's super, super important. So in the exam, there is no negative marking, non-negative. So but you do have to answer everything. Just put whatever, no negative marking. If you don't know the answer, you have to answer anyway. Out of the 150 questions, most of them are already tested questions from the huge Q bank that they have. And then they always have some certain pool of new questions coming up. But this is very important because a lot of people get stuck on recalls, and they think that with the recalls, they are going to get everything, and they need those specific recalls from the last 3 or 4 days of the preparation. And a lot of people get stuck and they just need them. And I say, yes, do it, but you're getting those recalls for your peace of mind. You're getting those recalls so you feel that you have some certain level of security when you do your exam, but those are not going to give you the pass. What is going to give you the pass is your actual preparation over 6 months and your whole analytical thinking, your best code knowledge that allow you to answer most of the other questions, okay? Not that 10% of new random topics that they decided to add in there in that specific week, okay? And remember, you don't have to get 300, 400 to pass. You only need 250 out of 500, and still people fail. And it is because of these silly mistakes, okay, of not really understanding how to approach your prep. Now, you're going to have a clock as well that is going to give you the time. So you're going to be able to see the time all the way into your exam. And very important, you need to, again, answer the question in order to move to the next. And once your question is answered and you moved, that's it. You cannot change it, okay? You cannot change your answer. Make the decision and you move forward. You won't see that question ever again. All right, now, because the CAN component of the examination, okay, because of the CAT component of the exam, some candidates would have been administered difficult questions, whilst others would have been administered easier questions. Again, this is what we talked about. Again, this is from our official examination specifications booklet. And that's what I'm telling you. Two people will have two completely different exams, and that's when they feel shocked because they did a really good exam and they failed really poorly. These have been the latest passing rate. So it's normally around 50%. We always want to think that it was a little bit low before, 46, 47, but then since we started doing our course, it has increased. But that's a lot to say. But it's anyway, we always make that joke. But luckily now it looks like slowly it's improving, but I have the prediction that from this year onwards, it's going to decrease again because they just raise the benchmark and make it more difficult. Okay, so let's have a look at this question. This is just to analyze how to answer MCQs and give you just some tips about how to answer MCQs, okay? So I'm just going to get Dr. Helene Anderson. Are you there? Can you read this question aloud? Helene? I think she's there. Helen? Let me get someone else. She can speak. She might not be able to. Dr. Jacob, you look ready there. Very good. Dr. Jacob, you don't have to answer the question. No one has to answer. You guys can use your annotate or you can answer in the chat. But I just need someone to read the question, okay? Will you be able to read it for me?
Yeah, sure.
Very good. Dr. Jacob, where are you from? Where are you at the moment?
In Brisbane.
Very good. Well, that's wonderful. And where are you graduated?
Originally, I'm from Slovakia, from Europe.
Very good. No worries. Okay. Well, would you be able to read it for us?
Yeah, sure.
Very good.
A 9-year-old Aboriginal girl presents to a regional hospital with the complaint that her ankle has become increasingly painful over the last 3 days. She had fallen from the play equipment at school a week earlier. Except for a recent episode of pharyngitis, her previous health has been good. Her temperature... Hello?
Oh, we lost him.
I think I lost him. Is anyone hearing him, or maybe I lost my connection? Can you talk, Dr. Jacob?
Hello?
Oh, good. Can you keep going for me, please?
Okay. Her temperature is 38.5 and her pulse is 95 per minute. On physical examination, she has a mildly swollen ankle with some pain on movement, but the examination is otherwise normal. The heart sounds are normal and no murmur is heard. The lungs are clear. Which one of the following is the most appropriate initial investigation? A. X-ray of ankle, B. Full blood count and ESR, C. rotavirus serology, D. Ankle joint aspiration, E. rheumatoid serology.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dr. Jacob. All right. So if you guys know how to use the annotate option, this is something that our students know really well. It makes the classes quite interactive. So the annotate option is normally at the top or the bottom where your Zoom tools are. And then you can click the annotate and it gives you the option to do a little drawing and like that. okay? And we normally just use it to tick whatever. That's right, Dr. Anna. Amna, good job, Dr. Amna. So that would allow you to see. So if you guys would like to answer the question, I am going to start explaining, once you have an MCQ for the AMC in front of you, what are the things that your brain has to do. So one of the very important things that we focused on our preparation, and you should focus on yours, is to create your AMC brain. The AMC brain is not a doctor's brain, okay? It's not a clinical brain, it's an exam-orientated brain, okay? Again, one of the sadly fails is that doctors with a lot of experience do struggle with this exam a lot because they find very difficult to distinguish between 2 or 3 correct options because they are all possible based on their experience. So that actually makes things harder. But once you create your AMC brain, then you are able to understand what we talk about. So the first thing when we're seeing an MCQ question is to look at the age, okay? Age is important, so this is a pediatric question. Gender, it's important, so it's a girl. And then we have an our patient, all right? So our patients will sit into our health, and there are a few little things that we always have to keep in mind. The other thing that is super important is where we are. Depending on where we are, okay, the answer will be different. Even if the answer is correct, in the MCQ, where you are determines your answer. Are you in a city hospital? Are you in a regional hospital? Are you in a GP setting? Okay, are you in a rural GP setting? So that's super important. And then you focus on the main key elements. So the ankle, it's painful, 3 days. What happened? She had a fall. So there's a trauma history there. And then we have pharyngitis, super important. And then we have high temperature in the child and a pulse rate of 95. On physical examination, you find a source. So there is a quite swollen ankle with pain for movement. Everything else is normal in your test. So the last thing that you need to focus on, and I always tell my students to read this 3 times, is what is asking, okay? So in this case, they are asking you for the most appropriate initial. So they use words like most appropriate next. Sometimes they just say the most appropriate investigation. If they didn't have initial, it's likely that another answer would be best. And most appropriate, it also depends on what we're doing. Are we doing a management or treatment? Or is this asking me regarding a test that I have to do? Okay. You guys, it looks like you have answered very nicely. So I'm happy with that. I'm just gonna clear your drawings and we'll just look at the next one. So if you can see, the correct answer is full blood count and ESR. But why is it the correct answer? Is it because I just tell you that that's the correct answer? Well, you shouldn't believe me that way. You should never believe anyone, and this is for you doing Telegram groups or other people, that random people that do recalls and stuff. Do not believe anyone regarding this. The answer is not full blood count and ESR because I'm telling you. The answer is not that because I said I have experience with our, people in this specific case. She might be septic, so I'm just gonna do full blood count. Okay, and an ESR just to see if this is an infective cause. Okay, it's not because of that. It's not because what I say, it's because our guidelines. So in this exam, and in Australia, we follow guidelines strictly. We do things by protocol. So in your exam, you have to know these guidelines extremely well. And that's going to be the main component of your content for the preparation of the exam, is to know all of the guidelines that they want you to know for this exam, okay? So if you see here, this is from the Royal Children's Hospital in Melbourne, RCH, which is a free website in which you can always go and review and download all of the information for your prep. And if you see here, we have signs and symptoms suggestive of bone or joint infection. the next step for us will be to do an full blood count, ESR, CRP, blood culture, X-ray, plus less joint ultrasound. And out of the blood culture blood collection on an X-ray, the first thing that you do is collect the blood and then you send the patient to X-ray. So that's why this will be the next initial step in that case. And in this exam, the same question. So what they're doing in order to prevent recallers from stealing and sharing during that week is that they will have the same girl, but they will change specific wordings, minimal words that will completely change the correct answer. So someone that recalls the question and then tells everyone in a Telegram group might share, oh, the question is B with them, but then that person the next day will get the copy paste question, which is similar, the same girl, 9 years old, with the same features, but then the answer will be completely different, because in that case, instead of this first step, they might be testing you for the second or the third, or for this part of the whole chart. So that's one of the tricks that they do in order to prevent copying. Okay. So the next question that I wanted to answer is, does your score matter? A lot of people think it does not. And that was one of the things that has also changed, sadly, recently. So due to now having been a little bit more difficult to get a job, not impossible, we all have gotten jobs. All our tutors in our program were our students, and they all have jobs, almost all of them. Okay, so it's doable, and our tutors are an inspiration. I got a job, and I had the worst possible scenario. I had a gap of 5 years. I had the first time I did my APRA registration, it was canceled because it was a private hospital and not a public hospital. I had to do CPD points of serverships, which I created my own servership. So it was very hard for me because I did it before COVID. But once COVID hit, it became much affordable, much easier. And then things have changed a lot. Now we got our program that we help a lot of people. We got coaching. We have a lot of people that can help you and guide you through this. And the hospital are way more welcome to IMGs. And we're always in a deficit, especially on the rural hospital. So it is doable. But what happened that we have, for example, in my hospital, we had 700 applicants for that fulfill the selection criteria. So once you fulfill the selection criteria for a job, you just have to go forward and you might be shortlisted. You are placed onto an Excel sheet in which will have your name, your medical degree, your AMC score, your AMC clinical yes or no, and then your English test scoring. And then it will be depending if you've done observership or not, or if you have any Australian experience or not. Okay, so once you do your selection criteria, if you have a good score in your MC1, that opens doors for you. So now it has become more important than before. Okay, so once you do that, you have to send to the hospital your letter with your score, even if in your CV just says passed or failed, they will look into that. So what I'm saying is, if you're doing your prep now, do it well and try to make sure you get a good mark to start from the start opening your doors. So we'll talk about Emedici now, because I think Emedici is one of those things. I get so many questions, even my own students, because the transition of Emedici just happened this year, and they all are so lost. And a lot of people, I just get hundreds of questions all the time on Instagram and Messenger, and a lot of questions are regarding Emedici. What is Emedici? What do I have? Do I have to do it? Do I don't? Do I complete the full Emedici? I don't complete it. Other people say, I have completed the full Emedici and I failed. Another one, I did all of the 4,000 something questions and I failed. And why? And so let's answer this, okay? So Medici was a Q bank that was already there. It existed, and it already had a lot of questions. These questions were based on GP clinical, were for medical students. They are divided by subjects, and they are normally created by medical students, some teachers and lecturers, okay? The actual full complete Q bank itself, it's not AMC related. That's just a Q bank. It existed there before. It's just that before this, okay, before AMC started to talk to Medici together, we had this book. And this is a book that you guys will recognize because it's the blue book. This book is not being released anymore, okay? Before you could buy it via the AMC website, and that's not available anymore, but a lot of people have PDFs options. What happened with this book is that it has a lot of different MCQ questions. They were official, but a lot of them were out of date. And instead of creating a new book, what they decided to do was to actually do it via an app, okay? An application, right? So what they did is they decided to conjoin with the Medici, and they have created an AMC official component of the Medici. The only way that you can get to this component is if you open your AMC candidate number, okay, through your AMC candidate number, then the AMC will give you a link to access the AMC only related part of this app, okay? And in that part, you're going to have a lot of questions. You can do mock tests and so on with all of the answers, as if it was an online version of an updated version of this book. Okay, does it make sense, everyone? Yeah, we're following? All right, so that's how the update happened. Okay, now, do I have to complete the whole Medici? I always say this was there already. It's based on Australian guidelines. It is normally for medical students, but it's not AMC related. A lot of the questions are very simple, and a lot of questions are not correctly answered. So you have to be very careful with that. If you have time, after you have done everything AMC related, then yes, go and review. If you want to use it for revision, go ahead. But this is not AMC style or AMC official. The official part of Medici is the one that is linked, okay? The one that is linked to the AMC, this part. That's the one that is actually official and the one that you have to do in full multiple times, okay? Very good. And that's also the link for you guys to get involved with. So as you see here, this is from the AMC as well. They actually tell you, look, we are two separate things, and the development and maintaining of this content is completely different one from the other, okay? The Medici has its Q1 with his things, and the AMC is just using the platform. All right, very good. So let's jump into mistakes, which I think will be super important for you guys to go through mistakes. First one, we already talked about it, the AMC1 Foundation. AMC1 Foundation is super important because we have increased the benchmark, okay? Sadly, this year, from this year onwards, and I don't say sadly because I see the aftermath of what happens when you don't prepare well for the MCQ, is that recalls won't cut it anymore, all right? Just recalls is not enough, okay? So there was a big update at the start of this year in which they pretty much just say, hey, the content is the same, so the questions will be similar, but we haven't changed the passing rate. It's pretty much the same, but it's just the benchmark will be higher. So it's what we talked about before. It's likely that those moderate questions, some of them will be lower scoring now, and some of the high scoring questions will be now moderate type of questions instead of high scoring, just to make sure that it becomes a little bit more challenging. And they say it's just to make sure we all fit within the Australian intern or resident level, okay? Which I doubted because I don't think they be able to. I have had a lot of Australian doctors with me, interns and residents, and they are not able to do this exam, obviously, because it requires a big preparation, okay? So give me. All right, so that mistake number one, poor knowledge foundation, is what we talked about. Building a strong core knowledge foundation is what is going to save you from escape. So it will save you from the easy questions. You have to escape those easy questions. You don't want those easy questions in your exam. What you want in your exam is a strong and actually high scoring questions. All right. So I'm just gonna write here, show you this one, and this is the interpretation. So this person that is here, A, has studied based on recalls. So when you study based on recalls, you have your own knowledge because you are a doctor. So that the first requirement for this exam is for you to be a doctor, obviously. So you have your knowledge in there. But then in order to prepare for the exam, you decided to study by recalls. That means that today you study heart failure. The next day you study a specific thing about multiple sclerosis, quite detailed. Then another day you study by another recall that is jumping or an pemphigoid. So that means that you can become very specialized in a specific sector. Let's say this blue is medicine. Let's say this is surgery. Let's say this is biostats. And then this is, I don't know, pediatrics. But what happens is that once you do your exam, which is represented by these bigger circles, okay, the exam requires you to have all of this knowledge about surgery, all of this knowledge about medicine, all of this knowledge about pediatrics and so on, but you weren't able to fill those gaps. So you failed. Whereas if you actually study, making sure you build your core-based knowledge, you will be able to have the ability to reach those easy questions. You will be able to have the ability to reach more of the medium scoring questions because your base is wider. You might not be able to reach the higher end type of questions whereas this person could potentially answer them because they were just studying by single recalls, but this will give you the pass. It's not only going to give you the pass, it's going to give you a wider understanding of the Australian system, which you need for the next steps of your preparation. Okay, so that is very important. All right, they talked about the AMC reconstructed papers, so they are completely aware that the recalls are there. They have gone through them, they review them, and they always tell us, be careful because a lot of those recalls are incorrectly answered as well. So you always have to make sure, don't trust anyone, okay? You have to trust the guidelines. So when someone teaches you something, they have to always provide the guideline and the source, and it has to be Australian or what Australia uses, okay? Very important. Now, the next mistake, so the first mistake was your core-based knowledge, which is very important. Your mistake number 2 is assuming the exam will be similar to recalls and Q banks. All right, super important. It's gonna be a completely different story. It's not gonna be the same. Your exam will be a unique experience to you, okay? So you're not gonna have familiarity. That idea of a medical student that is doing papers from the other years and reviewing, and then you sit in the exam and it's similar, that feel is not there. This will be completely different, okay? Completely different. Very good. So the next one, the next mistake, and I think you guys should annotate this mistake so you make sure you don't make them, is fail to upskill time management. The other thing we find students or candidates have actually prepared really well. They have a really good preparation. They've done a really good job, but sadly they didn't practice later on in the revision time enough doing mock test to train themselves and to build up the stamina to be up there for 3.5 hours doing the exam. You actually have to build up that stamina to stay in the exam, okay? So the exam is 210 minutes. You have 150 questions, and you have 1.4 minutes per question. I always tell my students, train answering questions in 1 minute. Train by answering questions in 1 minute and do a lot of mocks. This is as essential as your entire preparation that you've done in the past, okay? The mistake number 4 is do not underestimate the exam and don't take shortcuts, because then the AMC cycle jumps in, okay? So the AMC cycle is something that it's happening, okay? It's been happening for a long time and it's quite scary. Okay, and it's something that I always try to explain really well to all my students and to everyone doing this exam. So the time that you're doing now is not wasted time. The time for your preparation for the AMC MCQ is the base of your future, and you are not able yet from this seat that you are in to see the magnitude of how important your preparation is for your future self, for your livelihood, for your professional life later on in Australia. So let's say we have a person that has passed the AMC/MCQ, they did recalls, they wigged, it's for 50% chance, so they did a few recalls, studied for 3 months, blah, 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 got this and that, and they just got 250 and passed. Great, they've done the exam. All right, now what happens with that person? Oh, I've done my English test, Dr. Laura, but I just cannot get a job offer. Okay, all right. And then he tried again. Okay, I've done my AMC/MCQ, I've done my English test, but I just don't get any job offer and no job offer. And that is because in your job application, one of the things that you need to do is to actually, you have to fulfill the selection criteria. So in order for you to fulfill the selection criteria based on, just give me just a Sorry, I'm just really hot here. Just need to open the window. So in order for you to fulfill the selection criteria in your job application, you need to know and have studied all of those steps, okay, that we do and we take when we are practicing in Australia. So in your selection criteria, you have to answer questions about septic pathway, working in a rural region, working with Aboriginal patients, and so on. And the only way for you to exactly know and do a good selection criteria is if you actually understood and study the basis of the Australian system, which is what you're doing when you're preparing for AMC/MCQ, all right? But then let's say this person gets some coaching. It's able to, the coacher tells them, hey, the coach says, yeah, this is the way you have to do your selection criteria. He pays someone, they do it for you, and then this person gets a job interview. But then sadly, doesn't get through the job interview. Why? Because this person forgot that in the jobs interviews here in Australia, we have 3 to 5 clinical questions. And those 3 to 5 clinical questions, you have to answer based on the Australian guidelines. You have to answer the management of pneumonia, heart attacks, sepsis, surgical complications, all of the things that you have studied. That time, this time that you're doing here, that you're preparing, is what's going to give you the basis to confidently then answer your interview correctly, okay? The other thing that can happen is that you try, of course, you fail the interview, and then you switch to do clinicals, and you try to do your clinical exam. But sadly, you fail clinical again, and fail the clinical again, and fail the clinical again. And why are you failing clinicals? Not just because of a hard exam, but because you weren't able to understand from the basis. So this is just for you to understand from the basis how important each step is. Everything is dependent on that first step, okay? If you get a job offer, you were able to get it in a rural region, and you are able to then succeed and get work-based assessment. So you bypass the clinical, you got your job, and you started to work as a doctor. What we see here, and we see it a lot, and you cannot imagine how hard this becomes, is that this person that got through somehow the cycle and got a job now finds themselves in Australia with a first job treating Australian people without knowing exactly what they're doing. So that puts them at a lot of risk. And I had to do a lot of supervision and reports, and as a registrar, when I was a medical registrar of my juniors, most of them were IMGs, because of how unsafe was their work, because how bad the medical knowledge was, how bad the preparation was. So what happens is that once you get there and you are able to get your registration, don't think that your registration will stay there for you. During your first 12 months, you are under supervision, and you are constantly having to get job performance reviews. If your job is not correct, you can actually lose your registration, put into suspension, not able to continue into your career, making it very difficult to work into what you want. So, or something might happen, and then a patient, a reporting can happen to you, low performance, and then at the end, you're going to be extremely stressed out. Okay, so it is very important for you to just do the things that are right. This is not it's not a scary thing. You just have to do the right thing and just prepare well. No matter what you do, prepare well, okay? So we recommend for you to prepare 6 months or 8 months if you have not touched a book in a very long time. 4 to 6 months if you are an intern. So your brain is used to studying quite quickly, okay? It also depends on if you're working or if you're not working or how many hours a day you have to study. We recommend for those 6 months to have at least 6 hours a day to study. And if you cannot do this, just change your expectations a little bit and extend a little bit more your prep, just to make sure you do it right, okay? Get your time to rest. Make sure you tell everyone that you're doing the exam, family, friends, and book your exam, okay? Super important, don't study alone and create your own group or study group for you. Super important. In this process, you need to be really committed and determined. From the moment that you have decided to do this exam to the moment that you start working in this country, commitment and determination will make the difference, because you can imagine the amount of people that are not committed out there. And if you just have those two, you're going to be above them. So you're going to have more opportunities. I suggest using Google timetables, that they just give you a very simple way of structuring your study plan. And for example, you could potentially decide nights and days, depending on your working schedule or your study schedule, and organize a nice timetable divided by weeks with yourself and with your study group. You have to be proactive into creating that. Study group can be 1 person, 2 person, 3 people, but definitely you as a 1 person alone, that's not going to be the best. You can do it alone, but I don't recommend it, because in this path, you need a bit of cheer up. You need a bit of that extra help. You need other people to help you, especially if you're doing it alone. Collect all of that information to create your own prep, okay? John Murtagh was initially a big myth. Everyone said, just study John Murtagh, you pass the exam. And sorry, it's not. John Murtagh is only about general practice, and it's extremely simple. We're going to talk about study materials, which is another of the big things that you guys always ask. Study materials. I do recommend you to take screenshots, okay? So John Murtagh is good for orthopedic part, pediatrics, and gynae. Everything else, I don't recommend it. It's extremely simple, very basic. It doesn't have enough information, and the exam has changed a lot. So it's definitely not enough. Yeah, it's quite simplistic. The AMC gives you a lot of different websites, resources, okay, and books, but we have decided to organize those books for you and tell you specifically for what thing you need to use them all, okay? Obviously, Emedici is the new one, so the AMC official Emedici part, you have to do it for sure. I do still recommend to go through the handbook, the blue book, at the end of your prep, so you identify those questions that are out of date or wrongly answered. The Australian Medical Legal Handbook is really good for all of the ethics questions. John Murtagh is good we talked about pediatrics, gynecology, obstetrics, some of the renal health as well. This book is from the AMC. It's more for the preparation of the clinical exam. I do not fully recommend this one. And then the Oxford Handbook for Clinical Medicine is really good to read quickly and just have a very quick review of a lot of different topics. But the management and the investigation has to always be correlated with the Australian guidelines, because this is English. And then the USMLE Kaplan notes, I do recommend them if you have not touched a book in a long time, or if you have a lot of holes in specific areas. Let's say you're a gynecologist and you haven't done psychiatry or, I don't know, medicine in a very long time. So sometimes these books can help you just to refresh your knowledge. Of course, this is for people that are preparing on their own, okay? You need to start acquiring all of these materials. The Squid Little Pink book is based on New South Wales guidelines. Amazing. It's very small, and it just gives you a really good approach summary of management for emergency, all of the emergency things, bites, antidotes, everything, hyperkalemia, hypokalemia, everything is just in this little book, which I recommend if you guys have it. For, again, emergency questions, the textbook of adult medicine as well, super important. On call, again, Australian and New Zealand based, really good for a good read to just give you an overall understanding of management of multiple medical and surgical emergencies in the wards. The RCH Pediatric Handbook, I don't recommend the handbook because it's now out of date. I recommend specifically just going into their website and downloading and reviewing the guidelines then directly, because they are for free. Post-surgery, the textbook of surgery of Wiley is good, but it's not enough. There are few extra topics and a bit more in depth that is required for the AMC. So this gets a little bit shallow. And then the Lewley Jones for obstetrics and gynecology, you have to study this in full. This is the book that med students use here for gyne and obs, for specifically obstetrics. The obstetric part is extremely important. So I will say this book, read it in full, okay? Don't miss a thing. Regarding online materials, ETG is amazing. From ETG, we actually get all of the medical management, all of the medications, everything, all the meds. We don't get here surgical management of things. It's only medication related. And it also tells us sometimes a stepwise management for a lot of medical conditions. So these are the kind of a big gold guideline that we use in Australia that I check every day in my clinical practice to make sure I'm doing the right thing with medications, okay? You can subscribe to it. I think it's like $2,000 a year or something like that. Or just get PDFs, but they are actually updated monthly or every 3 monthly. So there's a new update that is super important, and we're gonna go through those very important topics that are updated as well. Up to date is really good, but always make sure it's the Australian. So Australia follows the same management or plan for it because it's American based. Life in the Fast Lane is really good for surgical management and emergency. Diagnostic imaging pathways, it's fantastic for all of the steps that you need to do in terms of X-ray first, CT after, CT angiogram, MRI, whatever. It just tells you in a very good way. And Radiopedia, you can always check conditions and their image corresponding to that as well. Ambos and Medbulex are two different Q banks that are there, but they are both American. So you do have to be really careful when using them as well. I would recommend you to just please take screenshots of each of them. They are essential. The RCGP offers lots of guidelines for free of management of everything, okay? The Emergency Care Institute, again, emergency situations. And then South Australia has a lot of guidelines in terms of women's health. Vansgog is all women's health, and the Women's and Children's Hospital is as well women's health. The Australian has asthma handbook. It's essential, and here you get all of your asthma management, and the questions for asthma will be coming from all of the tables that are here in the Australian asthma handbook. Okay, Medscape is good, but again, not Australian based, so be careful with that. Very good. So these are pretty much some or most of them, okay? Most of the resources that what you need to do is identify the topics that you need for the exam based on the results that you get, if you're doing it on your own, and then start creating and accessing to all of those guidelines based on those topics. So I would recommend you, if you get a recall, if the recall is about heart failure, then you have to study heart failure, but not just that, congestive heart failure with reduced ejection fraction, with preserved ejection fraction, management, complications, comorbidities of heart failure. So you should study the whole topic from the guidelines. And so like that, you start filling all of those topics per block in order to create your own study program for your own benefit, okay? But everything is in there. And if you're answering recalls as well with your group, you should look for the answers of your questions in these guidelines. The other book that we have is the Australian Immunization Handbook, which is like the asthma handbook. And it's all about immunization, vaccinations, and so on. I didn't add it here. So Q banks, everyone asked about Q banks. We talked about the Medici already. Yeah, do all of this if you want to, but again, they are not AMC related. So it's a bit of it's a risk. So you have to be careful. Amedex is full, it's completely AMC related. It doesn't have a specific surgical part. So the surgical option is kind of divided into all of the blocks. I do recommend everyone doing Amedex, but sadly, if you just do Amedex, will you pass? Sadly, not. It's not enough. Because you actually have to have analytical thinking. You have to be able to sit in front of the question and use all the knowledge that you have in order to answer. The questions for the AMC are not like a Medici. Questions from the AMC are questions in which, in one question, you'll be tested for gynecology, psychiatry, medicine, surgery in one single question. So that forces you to be using information from all of these parts that you have studied, okay? Rather than just a single one-way street. And then plus, it's a bit old. It has a lot of recalls there. It's supposed to be MC related. There are other new Q banks that I haven't had a look. But again, any Q bank that you use it, but always be careful if they are not properly done. Most important thing about the Q banks is you do your mock test and start practicing that 3.5 hours so you can get that time management. We're finishing now. We just have updates, and then we'll show you a little bit about how our portal and our program works, and we just say hello to our students starting in September with us. So super important updates that have happened. The English tests scoring have changed. So you actually have to go to the website, and once you pass your MCMCQ, double check that the scorings of your English tests are the correct ones for your registration, okay? And the next ones is big updates in between 2025 and 2026 here in Australia. PCOS is now called PMOS, and there is a more focused approach into metabolic management of it, rather than just a diagnosis based on some criteria. It is more focused on the management now. And they have also included AMH as a testing that you can add as well. There are big updates into all AKI and CKD management, updates in neurology seizure management as well. There were a lot of updates in infectious diseases, UTI management, and antibiotic use. That was a big change, and that impacts directly into the AMC questions. The new management of bacterial vaginosis, with now being considered a pseudo sexually transmitted disease, in which the partner has to be also treated. HPV now can be self-collected instead of just collected by the physician if the patient has had always negatives in the past. There are big updates in Australian guidelines for the diagnosis and management of the acute coronary syndromes, okay? There is a complete new lung cancer screening program that started in Australia in July 2025, in which you have to have eligible patients, so you need to know the eligibility for it, and you have to do a low CT scan of the chest. Very important updates in asthma guidelines that do affect directly your exams now. So all of this page is things that are affecting your exam currently. So you have to review them if you're doing your exam this year. Then for next year, there's a new guidelines that were just changed. So this happened in July and August. Very important changes, and these are likely to impact those doing the exam next year in February. So we are introducing cutaneous diphtheria. So just check on diphtheria, cutaneous diphtheria pictures for your exam to be able to identify it. There are big changes in endocrine and metabolic health from ETG, so you should go through that. acute hypopituitarism management, glucocorticoid-induced adrenal insufficiency. It's been renamed instead of adrenocortical suppression, and then a bit of management change as well. The adrenal crisis management has changed. The diagnostic criteria for allergic bronchopulmonary aspergillosis has changed. It's all happened this month, okay? And the management is also updated now, including prednisone in the use. Infertility guideline changed. Emergency contraception has changed. And there are a lot of new contraindications for combined oral contraception as well as pills, depending on the venous thromboembolism risk. So there is now evidence that specific, for example, to trying to avoid estrogen in high doses in contraceptive pills due to new studies that have shown increased cases of thromboembolism. And the management of acute severe uterine bleeding change, in which now as a second line, we don't use combined oral contraceptive pills due to that high risk. So these have been big changes. I do recommend you to take a screenshot and keep it for your study to review them. For example, this is from ETG. These are the new inclusions of contraindications for contraception, combined hormonal contraception, which is super important for your exam. They are always asking questions about this. Now we don't use CLCs containing 50 micrograms of the estrogen component because of the post or unaccepted risk of venous thromboembolism. And they have also added very good new tables to tell you exactly what to do if a patient misses a pill and what they have to do. Again, this is essential for the exam. They love this whole thing with the contraception, and you need to actually know it by heart. I'm really sorry. It's annoying, but it is what it is. But what can we do? They just changed it in August. So another thing important, this is again from ETG. Now in Australia, we use nitrofurantoin as first line of antibiotic for UTIs, okay? In pregnant ladies, as well as adults and in children, all right? So that's very important. And that's how it looks in ETG. It will give you number 1, then number 2, then number 3. And in your exam, they might say that they already use nitrofurantoin. Which one will you use next? And then the next one will be fosfomycin. Okay, so that's how the questions are built, okay? This is all the April content updated in ETG for the kidney and renal. So you please take a screenshot because you have to go through all of these guidelines as they have been updated. This is the new table again. Please take a screenshot for the asthma guidelines, in which now your inhaled corticosteroid will function as your SABA, so as your reliever. So before, your reliever was just your salbutamol. Now the idea is to actually change that and start using your inhaled corticosteroid as your reliever as well. And of course, all of the new guidelines have changed for the management of acute coronary syndrome. I have a little post with all of the new acronyms and the names in my Facebook if you want to go through it too. All right. So Q banks are really good for MCQ training. Make sure you time yourself, you read the questions carefully, use 1 minute per question, and build up that stamina, okay? And I always say, look, if you wanted to be a doctor in Australia, do you think you should be prepared by Australian registered doctors in Australia? I'll say yes. Everyone that tells me that they're being prepared by other people that don't work here, when they choose to be prepared by someone, I would say that's not enough, because us here, we are able to actually see what's happening, what's changing, and we understand really well the system, so we can help you. So if you do choose to go for a training program or a study program, I'll just want to show you ours if you haven't seen it yet, okay? So this is, for example, how your portal will look like. This was another orientation that we did before. These are all of the ETG guidelines that you will have for every single thing. Then we have all of the lectures available for you. So you will have every single lecture recorded. You can open the tab and you'll see all of the lecture 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on. So that's how the lecture will look. You can open it and it will be in your full screen as well. So this is just to show you. Here you can see that we have included all of the study materials, but the most important thing for us is not study materials, it's actually our slides, because in our slides, it's everything that you need, because we have already gone through all of those books, all of those things that I showed you before, and we just condensed and made it just for you. So the only thing that you have to do is to study. So if you have the means and you wanted to choose a coaching provider, I am myself a lecturer, and I have more than 6 years of experience in academia here in Australia. Dr. Rizwan as well. And I built this based on that, on Australian medical system. So if you want someone to coach you, we're doing a really good job. But I just wanted to show you. So the other thing that I show you here is let me just have a look, sorry. This is how our mock tests look like. So we have a lot of mock tests for you that we have created ourselves, okay? We created questions, or we pop up these questions in there, and then you have to answer them. And at the end of the mock test, you will have all of your answers, okay? They just look like that for you. So you have mini mock test, full mock test, and final mock test, as well as homeworks that you have to complete. All right, so let me show you. So again, what we do in our program is we pretty much have condensed absolutely everything, and we have divided it into classes, in blocks. So the only thing that you need to do is just study, okay? This is for our students. So if you can see this timetable, this is our live timetable. The first session will be an orientation and intro session on the 25th of September, okay? Then we have an admin week. During this week, everyone will receive access to their portal. We link them with the messenger group, and we start setting everyone in, because we have very large numbers of students sometimes, even though we're trying to cut it in this batch to a smaller number. And then we're going to start our first class here the 3rd of October, which is a Saturday with myself. So if you see, we'll do ENT part 1, then you guys have a study coaching sessions that we provide throughout the course. And then you will have also the other blocks, psychiatry, ENT, respiratory, cardiology, and so on. This will be for your first month. Every week from there, you will have always recall-based sessions. So these sessions are all practice sessions. Our tutors get the recalls, they turn them into our MCQs, like very nicely made, and then they answer them with all of the relevant information and tricks for you. So you have one of those sessions weekly. These are a homework that you have to complete, and video classes as well that you have to complete on top, but we pretty much cover everything. This year we'll have 15 weeks instead of 14, because we're just giving a little bit of an extra break there for New Year's Eve, okay? And we have a beautiful biostats epidemiology class as well, which is absolutely wonderful. All right, this is how our lecture slides look like. So this is how it will look into your screen. We add everything, and then we normally highlight in yellow those important information that have come in the exam, okay, as answers for the exam. So you have all of the idea. This is, for example, how a question will look like and how it's answered. This is another example of slides. We have access to complete anatomy, which gives us the option to show you a lot of videos in which you can see the anatomy of all the structures and all the things in specifically orthopedics and neurology. And so on. This is one of Dr. Zainab's class. This is how normally our questions look like in your recall based questions. And then that's how they will answer them for you with the important exam focused and so on, okay? And so on for you. So they're important. Let me just have a look at this one. Yeah, so this is just how a class will look like from your computer. So once you open a class, it will be like that. You enter your portal, you go to a recorded class. You can always watch the classes live, but if you're not able to watch a class live because it clashes with your time zone, you can always follow as a recording. We have a lot of doctors. We have how many students in this batch? 250? 150, but in total with the other batch was 320. Yeah. So in this current batch, we have 150 students. Normally the classes are around 50 students, and most of the doctors follow recording based. Okay. So the Zoom classes will be around 40 to 50. And then a lot of the full of the students do follow via portal because they are working, because the classes might not always fit within their time zone or so on. So that this just gives you a little bit of just that information. And I just wanted to show you how the classes look like, the video classes look like. We have really good tables. I made this one because I used to do all of the orthopedic block myself. So I created all of the questions with the specific YouTube videos attached so we can watch them during the class and so on. So if I did it, so when I did my preparation, that's me. I studied for 8 months and I read everything and I study a lot. And this is not everything. I actually don't have all of the stuff that I study, but I wanted to take this picture. This is the day that I passed my exam. I always want to say, look, if I did it, you can do it. The way that I did it was literally, you can see here, I did Kaplan, I did all of the books that I'm telling you there. I read a lot of parts of those books, and then I made a division and I created a structure. And from there, I created study group on Facebook. It became quite big and everyone in that study group passed. But when I was doing that study group, I created our own study program. So I divided the sessions by week and so on. So that's when everything kind of started. And once I finished my exam, I thought, look, I'm already a lecturer in Sydney. I'm doing this. So why not to turn it into something with quality? Because at the time, there were no good providers for medicine. And I felt quite disrespected by the courses that were out there, because I just felt that they just didn't have any respect towards me, because the content that they were providing was absolutely awful. And I just wanted to provide really good quality medical knowledge, like what my students at the university were getting. So that's how we started. Okay, so this is an example of your portal. Study groups will be through Messenger. Why Messenger? Because that I can see your pictures instead of Telegram, and it's not just random numbers. So welcome to our students that have joined for the September course. All right, you will guys receive a welcome pack and a timetable. This will be happening this week. Once you have your welcome pack, just sign your copyright agreement and send it back to us. Your study program, your portal access for the portal will be given during the admin week in a month's time, so close to the starting of the course. Remember that intro session, your first session will be the 26th of September, and your first specific official class is the 3rd of October, okay? You will get access to the portal, which has everything. The slides are gold, so all of those slides, again, it's what you need to study. Just focus on the slides and the lectures, because we've done all of the hard work for you just to have to focus on study. You don't have to focus on anything else but studying and following what we're telling you, and that's it. You'll get your Messenger group, the Facebook group, and a drive with some online PDFs and things like that. And remember, all of the lecture recordings will be available throughout the course and plus 2 months as well, okay? So I will say to you, you got this, okay? You can do it. I thank you very much for all of this. And I am more than happy to answer questions, guys, for you about anything, even if, doesn't matter if you are one of our students, does not matter to me at all. As you see, my Instagram is packed with a lot of info. I answer to people all day long. So of course, after I'm working, I have 2 jobs as well, 3 actually. But when I get done, I'll sit and I answer. So I'm more than happy to. All right, let me see. Dr. Esekven? How do I say your name?
Is Ezequim.
Ezequim, Dr. Ezequim,
Yeah.
tell me, what can I do for you?
So I wanted to ask, how necessary is it for us to get the study materials you advise us to get earlier if we're already registering for the course?
The what?
I said, how necessary is it for us to get the study materials that you told us to get earlier, the online study materials and some of the other books that you said we should get if we're already registering for the course?
No, you don't have to get anything. No, if you have registered for the course, you don't need anything. You got everything. We already give you ATG, we give you all the PDFs, we got the books. No, we provide everything for you. We don't provide Q banks because we are not a Q bank provider, but we have our own MCQ bank that we use for your mock test. But you don't need anything. We give you everything that you need, and it's already, and we don't want you to have a lot of things either. We just want you to have what we want you to have. So you just focus on studying that. That's all.
Okay.
Don't stress.
Thank you very
No
much.
worries. That's all right. Dr. Akash, Indy? Thank you for having your videos on. By the way, when you're asking me a question, please do turn on your video. It doesn't matter if you're in your pajamas. It's okay. Dr. Ashkan, unmute yourself, doctor. There you go. How about me? Yes, I can hear you. And thank you everyone for staying so long in this big session. I hope you have gotten information about it. I know it's very lengthy, but I promise you, it's so, so important for your prep. So everyone that is leaving, just want to thank you all for listening to us for this long. You've done a great job already on your first step. So Dr. Akash, go for it, my dear. Go for it.
I am an emergency medicine resident at India, ma'am. I applied for this course during August, ma'am. I thought this course will start in August only, but it's starting on September 28th.
That's
But
right.
I have planned my exams on November 18th, ma'am.
Okay. No, what we can
As I have
do
my
we can do the hybrid
okay.
option for you. So we always have the hybrid option for those that have their exam in November. So if you have already registered with the full amount of your registration, so you haven't halved it, then we can give you access to the current portal. So you can just watch and go through everything now as much as you can.
Yeah, ma'am.
And then when we start the September, we get you into the September one, so you can get the updates relevant to your course. Yeah. So just send us an email and we'll get that organized. Clancy, can you share the email there? Yeah, in the chat, we're gonna get it. All right, so no worries. Yeah, we have the hybrid option. Yeah, for anyone that wants to start doing it now.
I have been doing the AMIDEX MCQ, ma'am. Like I have completed AMIDEX MCQs, and I have been like studying the topics they have given, and I also have the notes that I have prepared for NEET PG. Like that's an Indian exam, so I have been preparing with that. Is it enough that like just your notes will be enough? That you are will be giving, no, ma'am, like that notes will be enough to prepare for the exam.
So the program will give you all
Yes,
of the
ma'am.
information that you need to pass the exam. Like our students pass the exam with very high marks, but that is when they listen to us really well. And they do. Like our students pass the exam. I mean, you can see I have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of screenshots of all of the messages, everything that they sent us constantly. They are there in my socials, and you can continuously see 290 to 275, 301, 306. So the idea is, it's just that with you, I'm not sure how your preparation is. I'm not sure what is, but you will have to look into start doing the slides and the lectures, focus on lectures and slides, complete all of the content, and you know, if you have availability, then continue practicing with your Q banks or recalls later on. But you need to go through all the content, and I think it will surprise you how much you actually need to study to be able to get a good result. And you can, if you feel overwhelmed, you can always postpone. But if you don't care, and if you have the financial means to do it in November, do it. I always tell everyone, no one cares how many times you fail that exam. It doesn't care. No one will look at that. No one looks at that. No one knows. So if you don't care, I always say to everyone, just relax. If you have the money, just get it done. And at least you try. But look, if you don't, then study well and then do it only once. So the trauma goes only once. You don't have to be relieving that trauma. Okay?
Okay.
No worries. That's all right. I'm not sure who asked next. I think Dr. Sarei.
Good afternoon.
Hello, good
Can
afternoon.
you hear me?
Yes, very well.
Actually, I wanted to ask because I am doing my med school in Italy, and I am doing my 5th year from September. And I was thinking about doing USMLE step 1. Is it cover also the the AMC 1 for me if I have the USMLE 1 or no?
No, not at all. USMLE will
Okay.
be just for America. The AMC is for
Okay.
Australia. Yeah. So
Okay, and what is your suggestion for me as a like 5th year medicine student? What can I do to just enter to start my like my journey for Australia? I am thinking about surgery specialty in
okay.
Australia.
So what you
Yeah.
need to do is you will have to add for extra asking your hospital for extra hours in surgery that you have to do after your clinical time to do volunteer work in surgery from now. And then after that, once you complete your 6th year, you should either start preparing for the exam, I will say in your 6th year, at the end of your 6th year of medicine. And then straight away from that to apply for jobs here, because in your system, your internship, it's being completed within your 6 years. So you won't have to do an internship after that. So you can already start applying for jobs as a resident, as an Italian
Oh,
resident.
thank you. Okay, and one question, because in my school we have like 4 voluntary rotations, which each of them can be 80 hours. And now I am doing the first one for the neurosurgery, for example. So is it nice to do all of these 80 hours just 4 times in one specific surgery, or I can rotate, like do another thing like in emergency or like in cardiac surgery?
I think you should do emergency anyway. You should always have emergency experience, and then the other ones you could do just surgery. If surgery is what you want to do, because once you get to Australia, then you have to still become a resident doctor here. And once you become a resident doctor and fulfill that criteria, then you have to start applying for unaccredited surgical roles as everyone else. And then once you do unaccredited surgical roles, then you will be able to start applying based on here is not based on exams, here is based on how good your job is in the hospital, and also reference. So your referee will be very important for you to then be able to access an actual advanced trainee program of surgery.
Thank you. So I don't need any internship in Australia, just graduate, just do
you will
AMC 1, and then
you will be able
Thank
to
you
be
so
a
much.
junior doctor here. You
Thank you,
already are
thank you.
supposed to be doing your internship now in your system.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No worries, thank you. Let me see Dr. Saad. Hello,
ma'am.
doctor. How are we?
Hello, ma'am. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you.
All right. So, ma'am, first of all, I want to thank you and Dr. Rizwan for arranging such a wonderful and informative session.
Thank you.
And I also want to thank you because I am the one of the doctor who passed the PLAB 2 and now I am stuck. So thank you so much for your guidance. And now I am pursuing AMC Part 1 and hopefully I will join your session in coming session in September.
Beautiful.
So this information was very much, this session was very much informative, especially you told us about the AMC clinical part that is exempted on the basis of our PLAB 2. So I think that was a query that was stuck in many of the students or doctors who have done the PLAB 2, and they are not sure that either they have to appear in PLAB AMC clinical or not. So this clearance will help so many candidates. Thank you so much to you and Dr. Rizwan. Thank you.
No worries, Dr. Saad. I actually have two of my residents. So I did medical, I worked as a medical registrar in medicine for 5 years now. And I had 2 of my residents, they actually didn't, they came with MC1 and English test, and then they got the jobs at my hospital, both of them. And then they decided, so they were waiting for work-based assessment, but the waiting time was so long that they were like, I'm done. And they didn't want to do clinicals. So what they did is they actually went to the UK and did a part 1, and then they did the clinical. They did part 1 and part 2. They passed the PLAB, and then straight away they got their general registration after that, because they were already working and fulfilled the year of supervised practice. So as soon as they did that, they did it in November. By January, they got their general registration, and now in July, one of them is actually working with me, doing their fellowship in general practitioning with me, actually in the same clinic. So yeah, it's very good. It's a really good pathway. Sadly, European doctors from the European Union, we don't have that luxury. So that's not for us. I'm so sorry, everyone. You'll have to do it the harder way, because that's also hard, but I think clinical is a bit more difficult. But anyway, thank you so much, doctor. Let me just I'm not sure who was next. Maybe I will get Dr. Sunil. Good job. I'll get you because you got your videos on. There you go.
Yeah. Hi
All
there.
right.
I've got 3 questions, to be honest. My first one is that I'm from Pakistan. I did my MBBS from China, graduated in 2024 by the end of it.
You need to do your internship, don't you?
I did my 1 year of internship in China already.
Yeah, but it won't be recognized.
Okay.
So you'll have to do internship here.
But I didn't know that. Thank you. After that, I got married. Start of 2025, moved to Australia straight here.
Yes.
And I'm planning to appear for my AMC in this November.
Okay.
My question is, because it's been 1.5 years since I've moved to Australia, but obviously no clinical experience at all. Need a bit of guidance with the gap year, because honestly, because I didn't have any AMC, so obviously I couldn't do anything.
Yeah, no worries. So it's not your situation is extremely common, super common. Great things for you. You're already in Australia. So that puts you ahead of a lot of people. Bad thing for you, you're not working. So that puts you behind a lot of overseas doctors that are working. But that doesn't matter. What you need to do is to start, don't waste time. Don't waste more time. I mean, I remember what I was doing when I was in my process. When I was in my process, it was much more harder, very difficult, because I didn't have me. I didn't have my group, my actual program. I didn't have Dr. Rizwan. I didn't have anyone. This didn't exist. So I had to go and kind of create my path myself. And I didn't speak English well either. So the language barrier was huge for me as well. So I remember I wasted so much time. And I had a Ukrainian doctor, Sasha, that he was doing surgery. He said to me, Laura, don't waste time, get this done. And then I said, oh, not sure. I had to save money because I was actually in Sydney. So I went into academic roles, spent a lot of time teaching and lecturing, and then I had to make the decision eventually. So I wasted time, because at the end of the day, I wanted to be a doctor, not researcher or an academic, even though I'm now both. But that wasn't the idea. So with you, do it as soon as you can. Don't waste more time. 1 and 2 years of gap, it's okay, especially if you are here. What you need to do is to get your CPD points done. For example, our course offers 150 CPD points. So per year out of practice, you have to have 50 CPD points. So our course has 150, but if you don't join the course, it doesn't matter. If you're doing it on your own, what you need to do is do a lot of CPD courses accredited. There are a lot of free ones in Australia, and start doing that and get all of that into your CV. Do the workshops for skills that are always good, and also and do your exam. As soon as you get it done, you start applying for internship positions. Two of our tutors and one of my friends, that she's not a teacher, but she's one of my friends, did it in China, and they had their internship again. They had to redo it. Okay. And they are all now currently working in Townsville Hospital. 2 of our tutors are, happily, and my friend had a 10-year gap. 10-year gap. Came here, had 2 babies, didn't do this. She did a sonography course, so she became a sonographer. 10-year gap. and she's working now.
But she went back to China.
She did. At the end, she had to go back to China for 3 months, didn't she? Yeah, so in order for you to get your recency of practice, you need to do 3 months, if it's 10 years, like in her case, of back. But I, for example, didn't have to go back to my country to do mine. So every case is different. I say you just have to be really focused on that. Okay, Sunila? So get that done as soon as you can, and then start moving forward on that way. And observerships are also good. They always look very good in your CV.
My second question would be, I've told you, like, I've booked my exam for November, and according to you, how would I, if you look at it in a way, like, I have started preparing from August, to be honest. Like, I don't want to lie that I've been practicing and studying for so many months.
Oh, only 4 months.
Yes, and as you know, because, like, obviously, like, you know how you understand my situation at the moment. I'm living here. I have to look into a lot of things. So because of that, I couldn't start preparing long ahead, and then
It's
now
not enough. 4 months are not enough.
Okay.
Not enough. If you are doing it on your own, it's again, if you have the money to do it in November, do it. Start preparing and do it again. If you have the money, do it.
You learn.
You'll learn, because that's right. If you can wing it and you pass, then you passed, then you get that exam done. Most likely you won't, because it requires a lot of time. And really, the best thing for you will be to prepare well, so then you actually are able to give yourself a push ahead in the next steps, and you don't fall into the AMC cycle that I talked about before. But even doing it in November and not passing the exam, if you financially can, will be one of the best practice rounds that you can get to yourself, and then making sure that you get the exam done in February.
Okay, so if I don't go for November, like, if we look at it as if I go fully prepared, February would be the best.
February will be the best. You'll have more than enough time to get everything done if you are able to create a good preparation for yourself, and you know what you're doing.
Okay. And my third and last question, sorry, I've taken a lot of your time. My partner has also, like, he also did his MBBS from China, came straight to Australia. He just did his master's in public health, graduated, I think, 3 or 4 months ago. Now, obviously, I tell him this all the time, that my gap is more in minus than yours, because at least you have an Australian degree and I don't have that. But his point was valid, that it's public health. It is not connected to AMC at the end of the day.
No, it's not considered clinical experience, sadly. He has a gap the same as you do.
So is it going to be the same as you said, like the same way as I fix my gap year, he's going to fix it as well?
Same thing.
Okay.
Sadly, the same thing. They don't care about that.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
No worries. That's
you.
fine. Okay, let's guys try to stick to one question, my Ds, please, so I can go through everyone. Okay. I think I got Dr. Chandisa Ratnayake. Hello, doctor. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, madam. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I am currently a medical student in 5th year in Belarus. So it is better to do internship in Belarus or passing the exam part 1 and coming to Australia.
Yeah. So 2 things. I would recommend you to start doing both, to be honest, because what you need to do is to pass the AMC1 as soon as possible. But at the same time, you also need to get the internship done. Because from Belarus, your internship, if I'm not mistaken, will be accredited. And that you need that internship certificate to start applying for resident jobs. Just that the intern jobs are way harder to get, especially if you're outside of Australia. They are not impossible, but they are extremely difficult. But for you, resident jobs, GMO jobs, HMO jobs are much more easy to apply, and there are much more vacancies. So what you need to do is work hard and put both in the internship and AMC1 at the same time, so you don't waste time. And also your preparation for the AMC1 is going to help you immensely if you do it well in your internship. For example, we got doctors in our program that they actually have people that have done my program just to do refreshers. I got a doctor in the UK that is just doing it to do refreshers. And then we have this program as well for doctors in Australia, IMGs, that are struggling a lot in their working conditions currently, and they are under some restrictions, and they are doing our course just to get all of that knowledge that they need to be able to progress as well. So yeah, I would recommend you to do both, okay?
Yes, madam. So it's recognized by Australia, the Belarus internship program?
You'll have to have a look. I believe it is. I believe Belarus, it is. Russia, I'm not fully sure, but Belarus, I think it is. But again, you just have to have a look at the world directory and then get in touch directly with APRA. APRA, okay? Is the
Okay.
organism that you have to ask. I just put the name there. All right. Okay.
Okay,
No
madam.
worries,
Thank you so
doctor.
much.
No worries. Let me see. I think there was Dr. Yeah, whom is that?
Hello, ma'am. This is Sadia. How are you, ma'am?
Hello, Sadia. How are you?
I'm fine, ma'am. Ma'am, I had some questions.
Oh, let's pick two, maximum, so we can keep moving.
Make them quick, Doctor.
Ma'am, what are the ma'am? Is it okay to prepare for AMC 1 during internship? And
Yeah.
what should be the exact roadmap? As I'm just starting now, I have not actually started yet. And what should be the exact roadmap? And what are the things that needs to be done to boost the CV and to get shortlisted? And should I enroll in courses now? I mean, what is your suggestion?
All right. So for your internship, yeah. So if you are doing your internship, you should not waste time and start preparing for the MC1, because you will have the length of your internship for that preparation. Meaning by the end of your internship, you take the MC1 exam and you nail that. So you get two things done at once without having to wait a year for each. Number two, your preparation on your own, there is no roadmap. You have to create it your own. You know, there are sadly a lot of topics there that you can follow and start studying. And you, as we said in this whole program, in this whole lesson, you have to create your own study program based on that and start structuring on your own. You can follow coaching sessions and you can follow this stuff, and you can start from that point. If you choose to join us, of course, we done everything, but I already said that we got everything for you. But
Yes,
again, not everyone financially has that option. We also understand that. Even though we have lowered the price immensely for an Australian course, just imagine that I'm paying $20,000 for my courses as a fellow, okay, my fellowship, 20,000. But for me to do an pediatric ALS course is $3,000. Another ALS course is another $5,000. Any of the courses that are here by another providers of the AMC, it's around $5,000. Our course, we have lowered it as much as we can in order to fulfill taxes, pay our tutors, because we have 13 tutors and we like to pay them really well. And also just to make some profit for us, because it takes a lot of work. It's like a university program. We run as if we were a university program here. That's the level of how good it is. And any uni program for this will be very costly. But I do understand that it's extremely expensive for a lot of people. And that's why I'm constantly just giving support for everyone like myself, that I had to do it on my own. So there is no direct roadmap, Sari. I'm so sorry if you're doing it on your own, but there are a lot of other people doing courses around there. And if you anytime have the option to join us, then we'll be able to give you everything that you need. You don't have to do anything for that. And then your other question was, as I replied as well, I already said this to the other doctor that asked me the question before. Things to build your CV. Our course already gives you 150. And you can actually, in your CV, state all the stuff you've learned, medicine, this, surgery, blah, everything, that, psychiatry, mental health training, gynecology and obstetrics, all of that in there. That's one of the things why our tutors get their jobs very easily after doing this, because they've done our course and then they become tutors. We give them a reference and they do really well. But the other thing is doing CPD courses. workshops, they all have to be Australian. Everything has to be Australian. Don't waste time on these courses in your home country. It's not worth it. It's all here. Everything has to be here. Okay? All right.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am.
No worries. Thank you. Let me go to Dr. Nitin.
Hi, Dr. Laura. Thank you so much for all your help. I just have two questions. I'll be brief.
Yeah.
So first was regarding Dr. Sunila's questions extension. I have also done internship from China, and then I practiced in India for 4 years, moved to Canada for clinical research work and other allied professions, and I'm moving back. I
Yeah,
did my
that's fine.
GMC registration. Unfortunately, lab is in a tricky situation. I'll be going back into clinical practice. So it's a two-part question. First, I have like a 5 years gap after now. And second is because my internship was from China, and even though I did my local licensing, worked in India, would this still be a roadblock, like the internship and the gap?
No, not necessarily, because you have extensive experience post-internship. So in APRA, we'll review your case individually.
Okay.
That's because it's based on individual circumstances. So on that aspect, I wouldn't be too worried about that because you are already an experienced doctor. Number two, what you should do is get your MC done as soon as possible. Don't waste time.
Yeah.
And if you can go back to India and do 3 months of work, then I'm back to Australia. That's all you need.
So even with 5 years of gap,
yes, only 3 months of full-time job.
Really?
That's all you need. Yes.
Oh,
That's the tick for your residency of practice for APRA. That's it.
No, I was going, actually, I'm going next month and I'll be joining your course in January, hopefully, because it fits in my budget and everything. But thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries. That's all good. That's all good. Let me just get I think Dr. Jassie's iPhone. Dr. Jassie's iPhone wanted to ask a question. No? Okay.
Hello?
Hello?
Yes, ma'am.
Hello. How can I do for you?
Ma'am, I actually wanted to ask that in India, after MBBS, we only have 1 year of internship. So will that be an issue for AMC?
That's fine. You just, as long as you have your internship certificate, you're all good.
And we also have non-PG JRship, but we are paid in it also. So will that be counted or?
If you're not paid, it's not fully counted in your
It is paid,
practice.
but it is non-PG JRship.
No, that's fine. If you get paid then you're doing a medical role, that's fine. And we're talking not about the AMC. This is for your APRA registration requirements. The AMC doesn't care about any of that. So it's just two different things. This is for APRA, for when you actually get registered, okay? So it shouldn't be an issue.
Thank you, ma'am.
Let's do two more questions.
Grace is going to ask. Grace, I can answer. She's asking about your WBA. She's interested in the
WBA?
Yeah, work-based assessment.
Also, for Grace's question, for WBA, for WBA, you have to go to get your, let me just get, so I just wanted to share this here. 1 second. Am I sharing my screen still or not really?
No.
No? Okay. Let me just see if I can, where can I share my screen again? All right. So for WBA, it's quite simple. I think you can see the screen there, right? So remember, you need to first pass your MCQ, do your English test, and start applying for jobs. The job that you get, okay, has to be in a hospital that has a WBA program. All right, not all hospitals have it, but lots of hospitals have it in Australia, especially in rural areas, because they just want Angies to go there. So the work-based assessment program is, again, a program. Sometimes you have to do some sort of interviews for it. Sometimes it's just you are placed on a waiting list. That depends on the hospital. All of the programs, you have to pay around $15,000 as you work, okay, for the program. And you have 18 exams during the time of your work. Okay, so that's the WBA. Good thing, almost no one fails it. There are some people that do fail it, but it's a minority. okay? Because you end up studying a lot and just preparing well for your exams, which are the in your work. Is that all right? Grace, does this answer your question?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you.
Just let's go
Now
with one final question from
Let me
Ezekiel,
Chand.
who's been waiting for a while. Yeah.
Beautiful. Hello, Dr. Chand, and I will get it to you because you got your videos on. Yeah.
Hi, Dr. Laura. Can you hear me?
Yes, my dear. We can hear you well.
Currently I'm residing in Fiji. I've been practicing for the past 5 years. That's including my internship.
Oh, perfect.
I'm currently managing this primary care facility, which is public-based healthcare system. So as mentioned earlier, any ED-based experience would look good on a CV. So because we don't have a full-fledged ED-based system in our facility, we have a pretty basic system where we stabilize patients and we refer them on time to the tertiary care system. And then henceforth the treatment continues for that particular patient. Now, does that emergency medication and treatment count on the CV?
Yeah. You and your CV put all of that, and you explain it really well, what you do, and you have to make the most of the experience that you have. So you put it there. It is not that when they look at your CV, they look for that specific emergency experience, okay? It's not just that. You have a lot of things on your favor. You're in Fiji, which is very close to Australia. You are currently working. You already, you have experience. The only thing that you need to do is start applying for jobs, get after your MC1, and just flourish that experience. And if you don't have a specialty and you're starting, you likely will be able to get SRMO positions, senior doctor positions, senior resident doctor, or just a resident doctor position initially as a supervised 1 year, and then move up from there. Okay, easily.
Right.
So even though it's not fully emergency, but you've done it. You've had your emergency experience during the time that you were training as a doctor. I imagine.
Yes, we had a specific. Yeah, we did have a 13-week specific block in the emergency department.
You just have to put that in there, that you've done emergency. It's within your medical degree, and then you're doing this kind of subacute care. Just call it like that, subacute care, and share yourself, sell yourself well. Okay, and do the MC1 as soon as you can.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Let
much.
me just get one Nadia. She just turned on her video. Dr. Nadia, thank you so much, Dr. Chad. I will get you to answer a question because to ask a question because you turned on your video. Tell me, my dear. Just the last one.
I have a question. Does research paper has any advantage on CV for job?
It looks good, but it's not gonna give you the job if you don't have the important stuff. So the clinical experience or the good, how you present yourself well, it's good, but it's not, especially because you initially won't be applying for fellowship, so you won't be applying for high-end type of roles or training programs. What you're starting is on your first kind of resident job itself. So yeah, that will be good for later, when you actually want to apply for specialty training fellowship. So yeah.
Okay, thank you.
No worries. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. You've done a fantastic job. I hope this helped you. You know where we are. You have our email and all of our stuff. Let me see if I can. We'll be able to share if you guys send us. Let me just see. Give me 2 seconds. I'm gonna do hold with me. See if I have here some. Let me just send you the account guide. Okay. Yeah, sending you the PDFs that I promised you at the start of the class. No worries, my dears. So don't go without downloading these PDFs. They are very, very important. Sorry, our doggies are at the back there. Please get the PDFs, download these PDFs. They are super important. It's all of the exam specifications, the AMC guide, It's so important. So I believe it's been sent in the RMIDs. I hope you all have it now. You should have it all. No worries, guys. Thank you so much for making it through. I think, yeah, you're gonna be fine. You'll pass this exam. I wish you all the best in your future. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for staying so long, listening to us.
Doctor, I just have one question if I can ask. Sorry. Sorry. I'm sorry.
That's fine. Tell me.
Sorry. The only question is right now I'm currently working in UAE and I'm planning to move to India because working here and studying wouldn't be possible. And over there, I'm looking forward to find a job where I will be able to study and work as well. And as you suggested, having an emergency work experience is quite a like a cherry on cake on for your CV. And do you honestly think while studying and working as an emergency doctor would help me like prepare well for the exam is what my question is.
It all depends on how much time you got and how burned out you are. It just all depends on you. So it's that type of question that you have to answer yourself. The exam, one of the mistakes is that people do underestimate this exam. So do not underestimate the exam. It requires a lot of preparation, but it is very doable. If you are working, you just need to change your expectations and maybe make it a bit longer, your preparation. And it all depends on how well you cope with multitasking and stress and burned out. I don't know. If you're in an emergency apartment and no one goes there, you have time, then yes. But if you're in a emergency apartment working every day, doing nights, I doubt that you will be able to do it in 6 months. You might need a year in order to prepare. Okay?
Oh, okay. Okay, thank you so much. Thank you.
No worries, guys. Well, thank you, everyone. You've been wonderful. Have a good day, everyone. Have a good day. Bye-bye. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and any questions, you can send them to our email.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
See you. Bye-bye.